Hi, Bryant here with a brief message before we start the show. First, I wanted to apologize for taking so long to release this episode. It's been about 6 months since we released our last episode, and nearly a year since we recorded this one. So apologies to you, the listener, and to our guest, Hugo, for taking so long. I've been dealing with a few physical and mental health struggles myself that I won't get into, except to say that it's difficult to sit down and edit a podcast when you're in a lot of pain or haven't slept. This episode was also particularly difficult and time-consuming to edit since we had 2 separate audio tracks with a lot of noise and other issues that I had to deal with. Normally, I can use some automated tools to clean up the signal, but for some reason, those didn't fully work here. So at least for sections of it, I had to go through manually and clean up those tracks and adjust the levels and everything. Also, just any time that we have 5 people on a podcast, it gets complicated. Getting everything to sync up and sound good together. I actually did ponder just scrapping this episode and maybe trying to re-record it or just not putting it out. But I think it's a good one, and so I wanted to put it out there, even if it took a long time. So big thanks to Hugo for making this such a special episode, and to Connor for doing all the research. Make sure you give Hugo a follow on all his social media. He's Sees the Means shirts on most everything. We'll put links in the show notes. And yeah, thanks again to him. So through this whole kerfuffle, I've also learned a lot about recording and editing audio that hopefully will come in handy for upcoming episodes. And hopefully they'll go a little bit quicker. We have like 4 or 5 episodes that we've recorded in the last year, and I still need to edit. So hopefully those will go out soon, or at least sooner. We also have a few ideas for episodes that we haven't recorded that I'm looking forward to. That said, if you have any ideas, please email us, carsandcomrades@gmail.com. Also, if you or someone would want to be a guest on the podcast, we're always looking for that. Also, if you want to help edit the podcast or do research, we would greatly accept that help. Those are 2 of the most time-consuming things. So honestly, feel free to email us about anything. As long as you're not trying to sell us something, especially AI. We've had a few of those emails. But yeah, we might even read your email on the air if it's a good one. Or if you're trying to sell us something that's really funny and stupid. And if you already emailed us, but we haven't read your email on the air or addressed your question, then please email us again. We might have lost it, or it might have gotten lost in the shuffle with all the spam. So all that said, thanks again for listening. Thanks for keeping us in your RSS feed for this long. And on to the episode.
All profit is value extraction, and that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we got to get them off welfare.
Last words on my lips, and I am a revolutionary, and you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Welcome to Cars and Comrades, your probably only socialist car podcast. But
I've been doing this for like 3 years and still haven't nailed the intro.
I feel like that's part of our charm, isn't it?
I
agree. So we're here today. We do not have quite the whole crew, but we do have a special guest with us today, Hugo. So we'll kind of have you introduce yourself in just a moment. For the rest of us here, we got Bryant, Zach, and Brandon. How's it going, guys?
Howdy.
Doing well.
Hello. I have pneumonia.
And then, yeah, Brandon refused to call in sick today. We told him he's got PTO to use, but he refused. So, and then Hugo, you are joining us today because we're going to be talking about the Michelin Tire Company and its involvement in food. And you actually have some experience working in some very fancy pants restaurants. So very excited to hear from you. And I want you to plug all your social media and stuff too, because you do really awesome TikTok kind of videos that are very funny. So.
Hey, yeah. I'm Hugo, and I am Seize the Means Shirts on TikTok and Instagram, and Red Note.
Awesome.
And Red Note, that's right. Yeah, we all got to start plugging our Red Notes now.
Yeah. I still need to figure out how that works. I'm bad with technology, especially if it's in another language.
They've been doing a lot to translate.
Yeah.
They added a translate function so fast.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible.
I can't figure out how it works.
Yeah, I'm not good at it either, honestly.
I need like a young person to help me, you know.
They made it super easy, but like it is annoying to like go back and after I make a video and like translate everything to, because sometimes I do like wordless videos and I have to translate the actual text.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a little more work, and who cares? I love editing, so it's all right.
You love editing? Do you want to be on our show?
Yeah, I don't like editing. It takes too long.
I like editing when I have the freedom of editing and adding things and adding whatever I want. And if I see something that doesn't work, I could just put on the shirt that I had on and refilm the thing. So it doesn't matter. I would not like
That's
editing if it was like, an actual film, probably.
I actually really like editing video, but editing out our like vocal stumbles and shit across 4 tracks is tedious.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm okay with the sound of my own voice, though. It's because I literally was exposure therapy. I heard my voice so much that I broke through that wall of hating your own voice.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, actually, that happened to me too. Interesting how that happens.
I still hate the sound of my own voice. I've never listened to a podcast I've been on. I can't do it.
Fair enough.
Try editing your own audio for like 3 hours, just nonstop.
Oh my god!
No, dude, I hated my voice for forever, and then I edited 3 episodes of our show, which, mind you, some of our recordings start out at like I managed to get one 3-hour recording down to like an hour and a half one time or something like that, and I think that was the one that broke me. Where I'm like, my voice is fine, it's fucking normal.
Yeah.
My voice is only weird when you see what I look like, and you're like, that voice should not be coming from that person.
You guys all sound normal. You do.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. Yeah. I believe you. To me, I know that to everyone else, it's a normal voice. It's to me, when I hear it, it sounds like this,
You know there's a biological reason for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there really?
Yes.
Explain it, please.
The way audio resonates when it's coming from you, but in your own like ear canal, like everyone hears their own voice to be deeper than it actually is to other people because of like the resonation or the way it resonates inside your own head. So when you hear your voice recorded and played back to you, you're hearing it the way other people hear it, and it's like much higher pitched. Like this is a problem Barry fucking White would have, Mr. Low Voice would hear his voice back, and it's still higher pitched than he hears it in his own head. It's inherent to speech. Nobody has a genuine idea of what they sound like, so it's jarring for us to hear it back. It's a funhouse mirror idea of your own voice, so you do have to get used to it.
The other thing is that I can make a bunch of different voices. Like, ever since I was a kid, like, I've done Elmo, and I could just, I can do any voice I want. And those all sound really good to me. But as soon as I hear my actual normal voice, I'm like, oh, just make it stop, please. So I'd prefer not sounding like myself.
Yeah.
I made most
enough.
of the friends that I have right now, I made one night because I got just hammered and did a Jersey hardcore bit for like 4 hours. Using
What does that mean?
What's that?
Oh, like doing the voice of a Jersey hardcore.
Yeah, just doing like
band?
a real like Jersey mook kind of voice, and then talking about like what hardcore is like in New Jersey, and just doing this really weird parody of what New Jersey is like. There's an inside joke amongst me and some friends about the New Jersey Speed Dealers Union, and it's this whole thing. But yes, when I'm doing a bit like that, my voice is fine.
I grew up in New Jersey, and I went to a lot of hardcore shows.
Jersey hardcore coming from the streets.
I come from the streets of Union City.
The streets of Camden represent. I actually lived in New Jersey for a little bit. I lived outside of Camden.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's a little far from me. I lived right on the Hudson River, West New York, Union City, Hudson County.
Yeah, I lived outside Philly. I lived in Philly and around there for a long time.
We don't consider that Jersey. We consider that Philly.
Well, I mean, it's South Jersey. I also lived outside Wilmington for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Dark period.
Well, anyway, moving on. I guess we'll get started first with our usual car updates. It's been kind of a while since we've talked, so we'll try our best to keep it brief. But it's also winter, so, most of us aren't doing anything too crazy with the cars. So we'll do our, normal project car updates, and then we're going to talk to Hugo about his experience working in high-end restaurants, and then we're going to talk a little bit about, the history of the Michelin Guide and how it works, and the connection to tires and all that. So we'll kind of go through all of that. And I don't know, it just might be something to consider, using the Michelin Guide in your area if they have anything rated. Might help you find some cool experiences. So that's kind of where we're going to go with this episode. And if we want to get started, I don't know, let's do alphabetical for car updates.
Maybe Hugo should go first because he's the guest, and you might have to step out for a minute. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, sure. I drive...
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I drive a 2002 Ford Explorer.
Okay.
Which was my dream car in 2002 because that's the car my dad leased at the time, and then he bought it. And then he gave it to me a couple years ago. So I just went to the mechanic yesterday to get an oil change and get my inspection. And my mechanic is my friend, and he usually, doesn't do anything unless it absolutely needs to be done. I don't know anything about cars. He needed to switch the front left bearing, the front left upper control arm, the stabilizer links, and give me the oil change. And that all came to $600, which was a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of sounds like a real fucking fair price. If
it is,
yeah,
for sure.
That dude is your friend.
Yeah. All things considered, you would have probably paid twice that elsewhere. I mean, $600 sucks, but yeah, I think at a non-framed price, you're looking at like $1,000 to $1,200 for that.
That's why I trust whenever he's like, "Hey, man, like we got to do this stuff." I'm just like, whatever you say. Like, just do it. There's nothing I could do. I know if I drive on it, it's probably gonna, mess me up even more.
Was it like rusted out or just worn or?
I think so. I think he said they were because it's 23 years old now. So
yeah.
So there's just but otherwise it runs great. My dad gave it to me at like 160,000 miles, and I think I'm only up to like 175 right now.
Okay.
So
I honestly think that if I found a mechanic that would do that work for that price, I would start going to a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might.
I mean, yeah, this is something we've brought up on the show before. It helps to be friends with your mechanic. I'm friends with my mechanic, and believe me, it's great. So,
yeah. Also, I think on that one show that we were talking about that, we suggested like bribing your mechanic with like brownies or something.
I use whiskey.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
I always ask for what the cash price is too. If that's not clear.
Yeah.
No, my mechanic's awesome. I send him, somebody referred him to me, and then I refer people to him all the time. Like anyone in the neighborhood, anytime anyone in the neighborhood asks me about a mechanic, I give them his number. And and then his dad owns it, and his dad is like I think they're Greek, and he just roasts me every time. Like, you people, you don't know nothing about cars. You just drive, you just turn it on, and you go. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
That does pretty much describe the non-mechanic public, yeah.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I didn't have my brake light was on. I love how Ford Explorers, it's like a code. Like you don't understand what's going. Like the brake light was on and it wouldn't go off when I took the emergency brake off. So I was like, what the hell does that mean? And then I took it to him, and he's like, you know what it is, right? And I was like, no. He's like, you need brake fluid. And I was like, what? And he filled up the brake fluid, and the light went off. And I think that's when he was first like, you have no idea what you're doing. You're just
Should your brake pedal not feel soft? All of my cars, if that comes on, then I'm basically out of brake fluid.
No, it happens all the time. I think I have like, I don't know if it's like a leak or something. It happens all the time.
Yeah, you got a leak somewhere.
I got a leak.
You got a leak somewhere.
I actually have to buy some because I just used it last week. But like every like 90 days it happens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotta get everything tightened up there.
If your shit's that rusty as what you were just describing, you might have pinholes in a brake line.
Oh, yeah.
I'll mention it to J. John next time I go again. Also, my anytime I hit the signal, the wipers go on.
Oh, that's not a flaw. That's character.
And every time to shut them off, I have to like wait for them to wipe again. And as they're wiping, I have to flick them on and off, like flick the actual like wiper on and off, and it'll shut off. But it's very embarrassing every time I'm trying to like signal to like park, like everyone can see like, why is this guy's wipers on? It's like 90 degrees and sunny. Oh my god!
You have a 23-year-old Explorer. No one is wondering why it's acting weird.
Yeah, right. Like,
you're self-conscious. Everyone else is just like, no, this guy's poor.
Yeah.
He's one of us. He's our people.
But I do feel like rich because we don't have, like most people don't have cars here. Like you don't need a car here. I lived most of my adult life without a car here. I always take the train to work, and it's like 20 minutes to get to work, like door to door. Like there's no reason for me to have a car here. We got it because her parents were giving a car away, so they gave us their Chrysler for a while. That died. And then
No, yeah, I was about to say, as soon as you said it was a Chrysler, I was like, yeah, but let's see how long that lasts.
White elephant gift there.
It was bad. I took it died on me like once, and it like overheated, and I brought it to my mechanic. That's how I met him, and I brought it to him, and he was like, "It's gonna cost it would cost so much more money to like fix this. Like, there's no point. Like, you need to junk this right now." And I was like, "All right."
Every time I think of driving in New York, there was a throwaway line in an episode of Futurama. Zach's face tells me he already knows. Yep. No one in New York owns a car. There's too much traffic.
Yeah.
Or no one in New York drives. There's too much traffic. Something like that. And that's what you're making me think of right now.
In Manhattan, there's a lot of traffic. Now I live in Brooklyn. I work in Queens. So for me to get from my door to my job, it takes, in my car at 6:30 in the morning, I'm at work at like 6:51. But if I were to take the train, I would have to go into Manhattan and back out into Queens, and it would take like an hour and a half. But that's like a very unique problem. Almost everyone, all of us, work either in Brooklyn or in Manhattan. So there's no reason for that to ever happen.
My only experience driving in New York was I used to do this really awful expedited freight driving company. So like I would drive like specific loads of like up to 1 to 4 pallets worth, and I would have to like drive through the night and whatever. It was just like, it was wild. But there was a couple times where I had to go into New York City, and I have this like 9-foot tall Sprinter van, and it gives me nightmares. The bridges were all like, half of them you couldn't drive on half the fucking roads, and I'd be like, well, I don't know where to go. The GPS is telling me to go here, and it's just like, you can't be here. And I'm like, oh my god, and everywhere I drove, I'm like, I feel like traffic in Chicago is bad-ish, but it could be a lot fucking worse. New York traffic, I'm just like, yo, it takes 4 hours to go anywhere in the city. In my experience, I was just like, I would never want to own a car there, because I'm like, I don't know how you get around. It would take me hours and hours to go anywhere, and then they have potholes the size of like a garage. I was like, dude, please, I can't. How are these on public roads? I don't get it, man.
No, and they'll be on the highway too. Yes. Also, another thing, now that I drive the ambulance and I'm like all over, like I drive every borough, Brooklyn has there are some areas of like Brownsville, like the worst neighborhoods, like the poorest neighborhoods, where there is a speed bump for a crosswalk, and it's black. It's not painted. So
Yeah.
I'll be flying down lights and sirens with a patient who's like,
Oh,
arm
no.
is broken, and I'm just like, oh my god, we gotta get to the hospital. And I'm like, last second I realize this is a raised crosswalk, and I just slam on the brake, and we're flying. I hate it here. It's terrible. And yeah, no, a lot of times I get redeployed from like Queens to Lower Manhattan, and that drive takes it's only about 4 miles, and it takes 25 minutes. And some days they're like, when they ask you to do it at 4 p.m., it takes an hour and 20 minutes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I believe that.
So there's no
I believe
4-hour
that.
traffic, but it is, yeah, it does. It could go from 30 minutes to an hour easily. Like, it could double.
I'm only now realizing the breadth of experiences I've had in New York, because I've walked everywhere I had to go. I've biked everywhere I've had to go there. I've driven there. I stayed with a friend's family in like the Upper West Side, and I've slept rough on the streets. I fucking hate that city.
Yeah, I'm not between New York and Chicago. I'm kind of like, yeah, I like Chicago.
I hate that city too,
for
actually.
plenty.
It's just super expensive, but I like it here because like it's easy to get around. Like I said, you don't need a car at all. Like a subway will get you everywhere within 30 to 40 minutes, super fast. Especially the only added commute is if you live far from a subway. So if you live like a 15-minute walk from the subway, your commute's now 45 minutes. But I live like you can see the train right here. It's like a block away, a block and a half away. So my commute from here is amazing. I love it. I think this is the best neighborhood I've ever lived in. It's the poorest neighborhood, but it's great for commuting. So I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And parking.
Yeah, I'm actually like, yeah, I can only imagine. I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, so like you have to have a car here. In the city proper, I've known a lot of people who did not have to have a car, but like the trouble with like a lot of Chicago, like people will live in the city and work in the suburbs, or vice versa. A lot of people will work or live in the suburbs and work in the city, and like there's just the options. There's some trains, but like not enough. So the options are like there's just traffic everywhere, and so like it kind of does suck. Where it's like, yeah, a lot of people actually do have cars, even when they live in the city and stuff, for that reason. And I don't know. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, in Denver, we do technically have public transit, but it takes like twice as long to get anywhere as it does to drive.
That's
and
Pittsburgh,
also
yeah.
It stops running at midnight. So if you're going out to drink, then you gotta get out of there quick.
You gotta get behind the wheel.
You get to get behind the wheel.
Yeah. Oh, quick side tangent. I don't know how many of y'all listen to Pod Damn America, but on there, Jake Flores was talking about how like in Texas, like DUIs are basically just like a tax on the working class that they pay to the state. It's like, yeah, everyone I know has a DUI. It's like a normal thing.
I don't think that this is like exclusive to machinists by a long shot, but there is a sort of a joke amongst machinists, because we have really stressful jobs in their own right, about needing to drink to get through it. And I've never worked in a shop where there wasn't at least 2 people with over 3 DUIs.
Oh wow.
Wow. That is too much. At a certain point, I'm like, hey man, just take it easy this time. You got a couple strikes. Just
one guy I worked with had 7 DUIs. He was 62, and his parents drove him to work.
Oh no!
Wow. Oh man,
that's rough.
I knew a guy that was on work release, so he like would go to work and then go right back to jail.
Oh yeah,
so
we have that here too. It's great.
I feel like we need a movement of like people with DUIs for public transportation funding or something. Like we make a group, because like we need better public transportation so that people don't have to get driven to work.
It's Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but from the drunk driver's perspective.
Drunks Against Driving?
Yes, Dad.
Dad, yeah.
That's why alcoholics love New York City, because like you don't get arrested for just walking down the street drunk or being drunk on the train. The worst thing that's ever happened to me is I wake up on the last stop of the train with a cop poking me awake. But like other than that, it's fine.
Dude, drinking and driving should be something you get to do, not something you have to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they should have special track nights for drinking and driving on the track.
The insurance and safety shit would be a nightmare, but I 100% agree.
I'd pay the premium.
The class, like the different racing classes, should just be the different ABV, like your blood alcohol levels, BACs.
I mean,
like the 0.2 and up class is just like insanely expensive, but like also nobody cares because you don't live
college.
What
me and my friends in college would drink and play Mario Kart all the time. I think that's like
it's the adult version of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, or we could even make this safer and just have a go-kart night where you're fucking hammered.
I think there's still a real good chance of killing yourself doing that.
Yes, very good chance. Like driving straight into the rail.
Yeah, or flipping over and running over your friend's head.
Oh my god, yeah. You could play GTA, you can get really drunk and drive. And it's really hard to drive when you're drunk in GTA. Like,
well, that's not realistic.
Yeah, it's actually easier to drive drunk.
We should edit this entire section out.
Yeah,
we've just been advocating drinking and driving for like 10 minutes, which is my normal MO, but normally at least somebody is pushing back against it.
We need some kind of a disclaimer in there, at least.
Yeah, no matter how much fun drinking and driving is, you still shouldn't do it, even though it's like really fun.
Well, so yeah, speaking of moving on, Hugo, if that's all you got, I guess we'll move on to the rest of the car updates.
Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I think, who's next? Brandon, I think you're first alphabetically. Yeah.
I haven't done anything. I haven't even driven. Like, now that I have the Honda, I haven't even driven either of my older cars in like 3 weeks. We've been into a really bad cold spell, and the Ford doesn't even like to start when it's this cold. The Cutlass, I've driven it a couple of times. It's fine, but it's just too cold to fuck with shit. It warmed up into the like 60s over the last weekend, but before that, we were in the negative and single digits for a couple of weeks. I ain't doing shit in that sort of weather.
Yeah, fuck that.
It is really funny. Just back to the talking about New York a little bit. I can hear Hugo's audio. There's like honking everywhere, and that is something I forgot about New York. People fucking honk for no goddamn reason.
Fucking reason.
I'm like,
what the hell?
dude, this isn't gonna. In Chicago, people don't do that. You honk to like let someone know, hey, you're fucking up or something. But like, people don't just sit in traffic and honk. That's crazy shit.
The light just turned green, bro. Seriously, like I'm moving my foot from the brake to the fucking gas. Give me a fucking second. I don't even honk. I just go. I feel like it's way more disrespectful when a guy is like texting and the light turns green. I just go around him. I feel like it's really offensive to do that to them. No, I don't use the horn. I'm so bad at using the horn that even like some guy, I think he was drunk. He literally went onto the other side of the road and was driving right for me, and I forgot that I could use the horn, and like I hit it, and he like stopped and like backed up. He was about to hit me. We were about to hit head on. Yeah, I don't use the horn. My dad taught me not to use it unless it's an emergency. So even though I'm 40, I don't use it.
I don't use horns, but that's because I'm not used to having a car that has a working horn. No, I wasn't doing a joke. It literally I broke the habit of using a horn because they just never worked anyway. One time I was towing something and I was honking at somebody because I legitimately they were trying to slow down to let me merge, but I was towing another car with my van and I was not able to accelerate fast enough to get around them. So they thought they were doing me a favor, and I'm trying to honk to be like, either go or get out of my way, but I can't get past you. My horn got stuck. And on a highway with no one else around, I was honking at him for 2.5 miles.
Honk if you're horny. This guy's really horny. Oh my god.
he was like slowing down and speeding up and honking back at me, and I'm just like gesturing like, I'm sorry, dude. I wish I could stop it even more than you do.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah, I mostly use my horn if someone's not looking at me while I'm flipping them off. Because I need them to know. You know, I'm like, hey, look over here for a second. Yeah, fuck you.
You should wave first, like honk. They look, and you're like, hi. Hey, now that you're looking at me.
My main weapon on the road is, because I'm a moderately scary looking guy, is I'll do the rage pass where you pause as you pass them to make eye contact. And then I just give them the death stare, and then I go on.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I do like that one. Yeah.
The last time I honked at someone was earlier this week. I was, driving in traffic to work, and someone was behind me being impatient. They went around me, and then the light turned red right in front of us. And so they cut me off just to get one car ahead and then stop. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? So I was pretty pissed about that.
When I was in my early to mid-20s, I was with a buddy of mine who was as scary or scarier looking than me, because we both had like heavy tattoos, crazy looking people kind of thing, but he was also a bodybuilder, so he was huge. And we honked at a guy because he was like just sitting there and wasn't going. And he this was Philly, so yeah, he got out of the car and started walking towards us. So we got out of the car too. And this dude just pulled such a hard nope. He yelled at us as he was getting back into his car and pulling away.
That's hilarious.
Hell no, I never get out of the car. Never. People will get out of they will stop and get out of the car for no reason. And I just go, and I drive off. I'm not, what are you, stupid? I'm going.
Well, the fun footnote to that story was because obviously when people get out of the car, some bad shit can happen. Yeah. We were on our way back from the range. We had so many guns in the car. Oh my God. I think we had 3 AKs on us. Because we had taken everything out that day.
Yeah.
And it anyone could have died, but he would have. But also, I'm not trying to shoot somebody just because he didn't pull out fast enough from the parking lot. We were not the ones who got out first, but
yeah.
But we would definitely have that lack of fear instilled by having just a vehicle full of loaded firearms.
Yep.
That's its own kind of drunk.
That's why I don't get out of the car here, because there's a lot of cops here. And there's a lot. NYPD has a lot of, and NYPD officers driving around with guns in their car. That's what scares me the most. That one of them is just going to be in plain clothes, on his day off, and get mad at me, because they're aggro as hell. And I work with, I do 911, so I respond to calls. I could see how angry they are. They are so angry. I don't know what it is, but
it's them against the world, bro.
Seriously, they think everyone's a piece of shit. Except for, and I love how they consider all of us we're family, we're different, we're all first responders. I'm not like you, bro. We're
honestly, if I was only around cops all of the time, I would probably also think that everyone's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
If that was my life experience, was just being surrounded by fucking pigs all day long, I'd be like, wow, humans are total fucking garbage.
Yeah, my friend who's from Long Island was telling me that one of his friends got a job doing maintenance for police vehicles, and then within a year became racist. It's
wow,
that was a pretty quick route there. Just hanging around cops for a year, that makes you racist, I guess. Okay.
I was gonna ask him was he just forgetting to put enough oil in or things like that?
I don't fucking know what happened there. I mean, this
crazy.
is a secondhand story, so. Also, I mean, I've never been to New York City, but I dated someone last year who was from there, and when she moved here, she's like, "There's not a lot of cops around, are there? Shouldn't there be more cops around here?" I'm like, "No, what are you talking about? This is normal. What do you mean?
There's too many here. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. So I guess there's a lot of cops in New York. They're just everywhere.
They're everywhere. Okay. like all the time, bro. It's insane. I can't stand it. And they live amongst. That's the thing. Like we all live amongst each other. So they're all over, like just hanging out, like on their days off, and like you see the stickers and stuff, and it's just you never know. Because then they also have this like feeling like they can get away with stuff. So like even if they did beat the shit out of you and shoot your dog in plain clothes, they're like, who cares? I'm a cop. They're gonna let me go.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm pretty sure they got that idea because it's true.
Yeah. And if he does put a cap in me, all the news report is gonna say off-duty cops, shoots dread-headed criminal.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're gonna find the worst picture of you imaginable.
Yeah. They I don't know if they held me at gunpoint. I used to do real estate before. This is what actually kind of what radicalized me. I was just kind of like apolitical before that, and I was doing real estate and showing a luxury apartment on a Saturday afternoon, and it's a high-rise building that's empty, and I have all the codes for it, and I guess an alarm got tripped. So 5 cops showed up and held me at gunpoint. Not my normal-looking white client from Oregon. They just pointed all 5 guns at me and refused to believe that I was a real estate agent and I had all the codes, and they were asking me to recite the codes while holding me at gunpoint.
Oh my god!
And they held me at gunpoint for like 5 minutes. This was in
That's
East
horrifying.
Flatbush, and I was saying it reminded me of it because later on, after I got out of it, obviously I survived. I looked it up. That precinct is like known. That's a precinct where they stuck a baton up a guy's butt back in the early 2000s, I think. It's a really he sued. He got like millions of dollars. He's a millionaire now, and but they screwed up his guts. It was really messed up. I'm sorry, that was very graphic. But and they have these medallions that they give out, which have like a skull with like dreads on it. Like and 2 cops shooting a guy in an alleyway with dreadlocks. These are medallions they give at this precinct for like doing a good job, and they were released in like 1997 and then again in 2004. So this is like a super racist precinct.
Yikes! Holy shit!
And that's like an achievement to be a super racist precinct by the standards of the NYPD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have great cops around here. We had one officer out in Aurora that got found passed out drunk in his car and then got a promotion a year later. So
yeah,
I will say real quick, we are being worse about being even remotely on topic than you.
Oh yeah,
thank you.
Sorry.
So, Brian, what have you done anything to any of your cars this past couple weeks?
I have done very little. I forget if I talked about this last time, but I did get all the body work done on my Bolt. So I think it got rear-ended in like June or July of last year, and then I think it was like November or December when it finally got fixed. So it took a while. It was a pain in the ass, and I'm sure my insurance rates are going up. But even though it wasn't my fault that I got rear-ended, but yeah, the car is, I mean, it's dirty now because it's been covered in road salt, but other than that, it's looking good. I had like a spare, what do you call it, like memory foam mattress topper thing, and I started cutting that out and putting it on the driver's seat because I think I told you guys it's kind of uncomfortable. So I've been experimenting with different like size and shape of foam and just like putting it on the outside. But eventually my goal is to like pull the seat cover off and, stuff that foam in there, glue it in or whatever I have to do. So that it's, more comfortable. Because I don't know if it's just that it has 100,000 miles and the seat's kind of squished down, or if it's... I mean, other people have had this complaint on the forums and stuff. I think it's just kind of a poor design that Chevy made. It's like supposed to be like a lightweight, seat so that, the EV gets better range or whatever. But yeah, so I've been dealing with that. But my boss does like car upholstery in her as like a side business. So I've been talking to her about it and getting some tips on that. What else have I been doing? I still need to get my MR2 in the garage and mess with the wiring some more. But I loaned it to a friend for a few days because his car is broken down. And he's like, I like this car. I might want to buy one of these. I'm like, well, this one's not for sale, but yeah, they're good cars.
I think that was literally everyone that you let drive your car's experience last summer. I was like, wow, this is a lot more fun than I realized it was going to be.
Yeah, like it's not fast. It's not modern, but it's a fun little car.
It's nimble and it's fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then what else? Oh, since it's been so cold, like in January this year, it was really cold. My well, in December too, the range on the EV goes down because it has to use some energy to keep the battery at the right temperature, and just like run the heater inside. So like my range, like the average range, like in the springtime, if you're not running the AC, is like 250 miles. I was down to about 150 miles in the winter time, and realistically, it was like maybe 120. So like, you know, when it was Christmas time, I was going to go to my parents' house. I was like talking to my brother, like, hey, can you drive just in case so we don't have to like charge along the way or something like that. So, but other than that, it's a great commuter car. Like it, you know, it does pretty good. I still want to do something with the suspension. I'm thinking of doing coilovers, but I might just do like a refresh to, you know, like OEM plus. Like you can get Bilstein shocks for the rear, like not just, you know, because it is a little bouncy in the rear. So I've heard of people doing that, but I'm still looking at that. You know, just want to get it a little bit more new car handling, I guess, is the goal. But yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, I guess that means I'm up. I have not been working on too much lately.
Noticing a theme.
Because it's because it is winter. But I did have to go to my mechanic kind of recently, mostly because I just didn't want to fuck around with it. It was like I had a feeling I was like, all right, look, I kind of know what the issue is. I was having air in my coolant system, and it. Even after multiple bleeds, like, it would be okay for a day or two, and then it wouldn't be. So I think the last time I I had done it, like, I bled the system, and then it was, like, the next day I went to, like, a pro-Palestine car rally or something, and I was, like, running the heat, and everything seemed fine. But then, like, because of all the driving during the day and stuff, by the time, you know, I was driving around at night, and I was like, uh-oh, this heat's feeling a little bit less hot than it was. And then, of course, you know, by the time I got home, it's blowing cold at me, and I was like, fuck. So there was air getting into the system, and I was like, all right, well, I do need the car to, like, get me to work, and it's going to be real fucking cold. So I knew, I was like, all right, well, I've got a weekend coming up where I can bring it to my mechanic, whatever, and have him fuck around with it because I'm too lazy to fucking do it, and that was a smart choice. So he was actually able to like pressure test it. So he found there was like 3 small leaks. 2 of them were on the back side of the motor. There's like a coolant crossover, and I was like, yeah, I had a feeling. I kept looking back there, but I wasn't like seeing tons of evidence of coolant leaking there. But like when you actually pressure test it. He was able to get it to you know, show up. So they retightened a few things. It was, you know, leaking a little bit at the thermostat as well. But the other thing that they found was that the radiator cap, my fancy Mishimoto radiator cap that came with my high performance radiator, was not allowing any pressure. So it was just like, because the radiator cap obviously has like that spring in it, and I forget how those work exactly, but I never would have thought that was an issue. So it's entirely possible that part of the reason I've been overheating when I'm drifting at the track could partially be because the system can't actually build enough pressure, and also because I was having at least small amounts of air in the system. So hopefully, you know, I'll know probably sometime in April or May when I start doing drift days again. I'll know pretty quick if this was enough to solve the problem. I also did get my old fan shroud from my mechanic. Because with the Mishimoto radiator, I got the Mishimoto fan shroud as well. And I've heard some talk that some people have had issues with overheating with that fan shroud. So I now have the OEM ones back, and I may put the old fans back in and see if that's if I overheat again, I'll know to look there and see if that's something that can help solve that problem. So anyway, I've got at least some possibilities to fix the overheating issue I was having at the track. So that's good. And my heat works. So it's great.
Awesome.
And then also the winter tires I have Acceleras, and they're fucking awesome. These were like way cheaper than my last set. These were $80 a tire. And it admittedly has not been a very snowy winter, or very cold winter, because that's the world we live in now. But I will say there was a cold day. I was leaving work, and it was like raining, but it was like below freezing. So I was like, I'll do a little slide, right? And I try and give it a little bit, and those tires just kept gripping, and they're like, nope, you're not gonna drift. And so it was just the sloppiest fucking drift ever. And I was like, oh. Actually, that's a good thing that these tires are like super fucking grippy. Like I could have, if I came in at speed and like really forced it, yeah, I could get them to spin. But like the fact that I was able to, when it's wet and cold, try and spin the tires and it was fighting me, they're good tires. I was genuinely impressed because my last set, I could overwhelm the tires pretty much whenever I wanted. So they're good. I'm very happy with them, and I'm super happy with the price. So I've been happy with that. So anyway, that's all I really had going on with the 350Z, and the Camaro is still sitting at the place, hasn't sold shit. So I'm gonna lower the price in spring, but for right now, I'm using the consignment place as a storage facility, a free storage facility. It's pretty nice. So yeah. But I do hope that car sells this year because, like, oof, I need that car out of my life. So yeah, Hugo, for reference, I'm talking. I have a '97 30th anniversary white and orange Camaro. It's it's an American car from the '90s, so it's
real powerhouse.
It had a lot of problems. So I've had to replace the rear end. Had to rebuild the engine. The transmission's had issues. It's been a difficult car.
That's like a theme in America, though. I've known a lot of cars and people from the 90s, and they all had a lot of problems.
As someone from the 90s who has a car from the 90s, can confirm on both accounts. Yeah. Lots of problems with both.
So, yeah, anyway, that's all I had. So, Zach, what you been up to?
Same as you guys, not much. It's been fucking cold, so I don't really want to do anything. Speaking of my shitty 90s vehicle, the problems keep mounting on my 97 250. Nothing too crazy yet, but someone did take off my driver's side mirror when I parked downtown a few weeks back. It's still hanging on there, but most of the glass is gone. So I have a very small piece of mirror that I've been using. It works. I'm not too worried about it.
Isn't that like, okay, those Ford side mirrors, that's just like that most simple bent flat steel angle bracket with the mirror mounted to it, right?
Yeah.
Those are literally the ugliest mirrors that anyone has ever designed.
Absolutely. Yeah, they look absolutely terrible.
But at least that looks like it'd be crazy easy to replace for like $15.
Oh yeah, they're stupid cheap, and it's literally 3 bolts, and you just take it off and slap it back on. It doesn't have any electric adjustment or heated whatever. It's all extremely basic stuff. So yeah, not too concerned about that. When I get around to it, yeah, it'll be a cheap and easy job. But the newest issue is that my brakes have started to make a grinding noise, but only at certain pedal pressure. So I can lightly press the brakes and it won't make the noise, and I can press hard on the brakes and it won't make the noise. But at like a medium-ish pressure, it makes a very bad grinding noise. Haven't gotten in there to check it out yet, but my guess off the top of my head, just like from hearing it and kind of feeling how they're responding, is that I think if Ford was in any way consistent, which like I think we all know they're never consistent, but a lot of their 90s stuff, consistently bad, yeah, but not consistent in design. A lot of their '90s brake calipers though had the slide pin design for the actual caliper motion. They were kind of on, just a sliding pin. I think one of those is just like old or rusty or gummed up in some way, and it's not allowing the brakes to open and close smoothly. So I think I'm getting like half pressure on one side of the caliper, and it's like only pushing one brake pad in or something.
I've encountered that
That's
before.
kind of what the noise.
Yeah, slide pins are a common
sounds
issue.
like to me, because like the brake functionality is great. Like they stop just fine. Like if I slam on the brakes, it just comes to a stop as quick as a 6,000-pound diesel truck can come to a stop.
So eventually,
it does. Eventually, yeah, it hasn't gotten worse with the noise. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I think there's something just gummed up in there or rusted out or something. I need to tear into it and actually see what's going on. But again, cold, and I don't want to. And the one garage space that I do have is currently being occupied by my Subaru that does not currently have an engine in it. So don't really have any place to work on it now other than the street. And that's never fun. So I've definitely been putting it off. And I was actually going to potentially do some work on it today. But I have had a really shitty week, health-wise.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
I had some sort of a heart episode on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, my BPM, my heart rate dropped below 40 BPM for over an hour on Monday morning. I didn't even really notice until later in the day. I saw that I had some alerts on my Apple Watch. So I was like, that's
Alexa
weird.
reading lamp on?
And then later Monday evening, I stood up and almost passed out. And then I suddenly felt extremely cold for some reason. Like I was cold from the inside out kind of feeling. So not really sure what's going on there. Need to get an appointment with a cardiologist. Oh, and I checked my BPM after that stuff happened later that night, and it was at about 140 BPM. So yeah, I mean, not like insane, but going from below 40 in the morning to above 140 in the evening, and the other symptoms, like something's going on.
I'm going to make note here that the one medical professional that we have on the call looks very alarmed.
Wait, you said your heart rate was below 40?
Yeah, for about an hour.
What?
Yeah.
That's dead.
Yeah. Well, that's super not concerning at all that we have a medical professional.
Are you sure your
who just
watch is
declared
working
me
properly?
dead?
Yeah, is your watch working? Like, you should just have someone count off per second, like for 30 seconds.
I mean, I've cross-referenced it with, like, my own, I'll like, set a little timer for 30 seconds and count my beats and double it. That's, your BPM. And the watch seems to be pretty accurate. And I've had weird heart things in the past. I was actually on a heart monitor for, like, a week, and they didn't notice anything in that week, so they were like, oh, I don't know. Probably fine. Don't worry about it.
Kind of like when you take your car to the mechanic and it doesn't make that noise for them.
Exactly, yeah. My heart's like, no, that's our special noise. I'm not showing the doctor.
Really showing off our single point of reference on this show.
Everything comes back to cars, really, in the end of it. No, so yeah, something's going on there. Seems like the watch is pretty accurate. And yeah, it was a really wide range throughout the day. So, I mean, I'm no medical professional, but that can't be good.
No. It could be like also atrial flutter or like AFib, like atrial fibrillation. It's just like your heart rate kind of jumps sometimes. Which it's if like it's developed. Anyway, we don't need to get all into that, but yeah, just go to a cardiologist.
Yeah. I don't know how concerned I should be, but I've generally felt like shit ever since then. Yeah, I will say I've been sitting on this couch for at least a good hour now, not really doing anything, and my watch is telling me that my current heart rate is about 116 and slowly kind of fluctuating in that zone. So, again, resting heart rate being over 110, I don't think.
No, because if it's like 40, then you have bradycardia, and like tachycardia is just like when it's like that sounds like that's my workout heart rate. You know, your resting heart rate should be between like 60 and 80. It might be an AFib. AFib means your heart rate jumps. It does, instead of going like to a steady beat, it kind of goes dun 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 dun. So like your watch will pick up random fluctuations, and it'll look like it's 116, but it might not be. But yeah, I mean, there's no way to know unless you get tested for a while.
Yeah. I do have a friend who has a condition called POTS, and they have similar symptoms, and I do have like a lot of similar symptoms to what they have. So I'm definitely going to talk to my doctor about that. I actually used to date a nurse who was in cardiology, and she was pretty convinced that I had POTS. So I think that's probably the most likely culprit. I was not eating consistently, like for the past week or so. So I think my sodium content was just low, which is kind of part of the issue with POTS is you need like extra sodium in your diet. So yeah, that seems likely, but I don't know. That's kind of what's been going on with me. I'll get it figured out eventually.
I hope so.
I get around
Zach, that kind of reminds me, and I feel like you'll be the one here who relates to this most. When I first started having symptoms for pneumonia, I'd had a bad issue at work. I almost got into trouble at work the night before because I crashed a machine. And so I woke up the next morning with intense chest pain and shortness of breath. So I didn't go to the doctor for 2 days because I thought I was having the literal worst anxiety attack of my life. And was just like, wow, this. And I probably was having anxiety attacks because I couldn't breathe. But like a friend came over to try and like calm me down, and she was just like, no, take deep breaths. And I'm like, I know, it physically feels like I can't. Like, not like I just need to calm down, but like no matter how hard I try to breathe in, it just kind of feels like I hit a wall where I can't anymore. And she's like, well, just keep trying, like, you know. And then after 2 days, I'm like, I'm going to the doctor. And that's when they were like, yeah, you have pneumonia.
Yeah, definitely been there before. I have ignored several health problems because I'm like, this is just mental illness flaring up. Like, this is just something with my brain. But, yeah, no, I don't think it's a panic or anxiety attack.
Oh, no, I don't think it sounds like that. I just, because of my health problems also this week, I thought that maybe you would relate to that because I know you and I are on a pretty similar page in that regard.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We actually have like a medical professional on the show, and I can just see in his eyes like, you fucking idiots, go to doctors.
Yeah, I'm only good at assessing. So I assess, and then I tell you, and then my response is always, let's go to the hospital. And it's always like, yeah, I just check to make sure, is that good or is that normal? And if it's good and normal, then it's fine. But if it's bad, I'm like, okay, let's go to the hospital. I don't know what goes on beyond that. I'm not a doctor, you know, but I can tell you when something is bad. And that, yeah. But the hardest part is diagnosis. Once they know what it is, then you can just treat it. But that thing with the car is super accurate. Like, your heart only fuck up when you're alone in your room. And as soon as you get, like, the EKG on, it's like, oh, no, she's fine. She probably just had gas. You probably just had gas. That's why doctors used to tell women they just had hysteria.
Yeah, I'm sure there is at least some part of why we've been held back in terms of medical developments is because of exactly this phenomenon. It just don't happen in front of them.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's the root cause here.
I said it's part of it.
Contributing factor. Yeah. Not root cause. Contributing factor. For sure.
Well, if you could just call 911 anytime you felt anything, and we showed up, because we show up and like check everything, then we could confirm. But we don't have the money to do that, obviously. So, like,
yeah, we have too many cops for that.
I'm not going to refinance my house just so I can call 911.
Right?
Yeah, what do we live in, China or something?
Yeah, like if I'm bleeding out, I'm probably not going to call 911. Like I'm like, no, I'll make it. I'll drive myself. That's fine. I don't need to pay for that. That's too much.
In response to you, Bryant, real quick, I'm having a couple of weeks here because I'm so happy that I'm seeing the masses coming around to China, and it is so hard to not just do the biggest I told you so of my life. Close friends are coming to me like, did you know this? And I'm like, yeah, I told you that 6 years ago.
I've been knowing that, actually. Yeah. For a while, so...
Yeah, the U.S. decline is sped up precipitously. I'm like, wow, all right, we're really doing a speed run here. But I'm China as the new global superpower is good in my book.
Yeah, can't disagree.
I mean, unless we want to do another hour-long side tangent, maybe we should avoid going deeper into this. But yes, yes, speed running decline. Agree, 100%.
All right. Well, then, on that note, I think it's time to start the main topic. All right. So first, I'm going to start kind of with my little spiel on the Michelin Tire Company. A little bit about them. The listeners here will know them for being a tire company that you can buy tires from. Notably, some very nice tires. Everybody knows about the Super Sport series of tires that are some of the best you can get. I'll never have them on my car because I think they're like a lot of those are like $400 a tire, and I'm like, nope, that's not for me. But
are those the ones that like last 20,000 miles or something? Also,
oh, probably, yeah. They're going to be like real sticky track tires that like you can run on the street. They have tread and everything, but yeah, they're probably low tread wear tires. Like I would say 200 tread wear or somewhere in there.
I mean, the rear tires on one of my van are 700 each.
Yeah, that's too much for me. Yikes.
I mean, they're 16-inch wide drag slicks.
Okay, drag slicks, yeah. Well, that's the thing, like drag tires like that are expensive, man. I use low treadwear tires, like performance tires, but I got to get them. They got to be under 200 a tire at least for me. That adds up quick.
No, I bought a couple of used sets because they're I forget. There's a certain width where the price just skyrockets, but it's like once you're past 12 or 14 inch tread width, dude, they just get real ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. So. Anyway, that's where, we're not going to talk too much about the tires themselves. In fact, this is pretty much going to be the extent of talking about the modern Michelin tires for the most part. But we're going to basically talk about how this all relates to fancy food. So kind of just basics about the Michelin Tire Company. Michelin is a French multinational tire manufacturing company based in Clermont-Ferrand, France. They are a French company. So it's the largest tire manufacturer in the world, ahead of Bridgestone, which is the second largest. And then it's also obviously larger than Goodyear and Continental. In addition to the Michelin brand, it also owns, I'm going to butcher all of these names, every one of them. Kleber Tires Company, Uniroyal Goodrich Tire Company, Sascar, Bookatable, and Camso brands. I've never heard of most of these, so I'm guessing these are like international, you can buy them in Europe and, Southeast Asia and stuff like that. So obviously the only tires I really recognize are going to be the Michelin tires. Now Michelin's they kind of did a whole lot of tire innovation pretty early on, which is what led to them being a pretty big manufacturer. So the numerous inventions include the removable pneumatic tire. So like there used to be like different, the tires that used to be like just a solid rubber piece that was like glued to a rim.
I have a note about that if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
sure.
So in the notes here, it's talking about those are bicycle tires. They weren't solid rubber tires. They were still pneumatic tires. They're called cinchers. They're called well, shit, I had the word on my.
Well, so there were solid rubber ones, and then there was the first pneumatic tires were still glued in.
Okay, yeah.
So you couldn't replace them easily. What Michelin introduced was like the removable Michelin tire or pneumatic tire, and so like that was kind of their big thing and kind of how they started out. There was a time where, there's a story, someone on a bicycle, had a flat tire near the factory or something. And, what they did was they were trying to replace it, but it was a glued in fucking tire. So it was a whole pain in the ass. It took them all afternoon to fix this guy's tire.
Well, I used to run tires like that on my bike. That was what I was going to make note of, because you can still get those.
Yeah.
They're better.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Tires in a lot of regards. It's not worth the hassle because they're so much harder to repair. You can run 200 PSI and you don't get pinch flats on those type of tires.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because they don't have the clinch bit that holds the tire onto the rim and your normal tires. That's where the wheel will pinch at and get a flat. And because those are just glued straight onto the rim, there's nothing to pinch. And so you can hit like bumps and obstacles pretty hard, and it just doesn't do anything. I loved running those tires. You can run such high PSI that you get so little rolling resistance. They're super nice, but then when you get a flat, you are definitely walking your ass home and spending the rest of the day fixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the kind of the story goes that this instance of fixing this tire was like kind of what set them off in developing the idea of an easily removable and replaceable tire. So that's what your car uses today, is a removable tire. It's just held in there with like pressure, basically. So they kind of pioneered that. So they also did the whatever this is called, the Neurail. It's kind of like spelled like pneumatic, but then rail at the end. It is a tire for rubber-tired metros.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what metros means in this context, but I think it's kind of like a streetcar.
Yeah, so there's a few subway systems that use those. The one that I know is inside the Denver airport. They have the little tram that goes between the concourses, runs on rubber tires. And I think the advantage is that you have better traction, so you can go up hills and, start and stop much quicker. And then I think it's it can be lower maintenance cost because you don't have to have like steel rails. You just have basically a concrete rail that it rides on.
Huh. Gotcha. And then the last thing mentioned here is the radial tire, which is what most car tires are today. They're a radial style of tire.
As opposed to cross-ply is the old style, right?
I think, it was like bias ply was the old version. Yeah. So Michelin manufactures tires for, all kinds of shit. Space shuttles, aircraft, automobiles, heavy equipment, motorcycles, bicycles, you name it. In 2012, the group produced 166 million tires at 69 facilities located in 18 countries. So kind of like just going back a little bit in the history, in the year 1889, two brothers, Edouard Michelin and André Michelin, ran a farm implement business in Clermont-Ferrand, France. One day, this is the story that I didn't realize was in the notes. Is the cyclist whose pneumatic tire needed repair turned up at the factory. The tire was glued to the rim, and it took over 3 hours to remove and repair the tire, which then needed to be left overnight to dry. So that's the other part. So anyway, so it was 1889. That's when the experience began. And then in 1891, Michelin took out its first patent for a removable pneumatic tire, which was used by Charles Termont to win the world's first long-distance bicycle race, the 1891 Paris-Brest, France. Then in the 1920s and 30s, Michelin operated large rubber plantations in Vietnam, and the conditions at these plantations were real bad, and it apparently led to the famous labor movement. I'm going to be honest, I am not going to be able to say this correctly, but it is, I think, Phu Rang Du. But anyway, if you can find links to that from the Michelin Tire Wikipedia page.
That's weird. I didn't know that France had ever caused any problems in Vietnam. This is news to me.
I know. It is interesting. And also, one of the early places that they had a guide for was Algeria for some reason. I don't quite know. So, yeah. This was obviously super exploitation happening in Vietnam, which, of course, as Brandon mentioned, was a French colony. So, hey, in a way, Michelin Tire Company helped radicalize people in Vietnam and led to the revolution there. So, good for that, I guess.
Comrade Michelin.
That's like saying Comrade Czar.
Yeah. I don't think you have to hand it to him on that one.
Yeah.
Can I do a quick side tangent?
Sure.
So apparently the Michelin Man, in their advertising, has a name. His name is Bibendum.
Bibendum, yep.
Which I think is part of a Latin phrase, which...
it's short for Bibendum, I hardly know him.
I had to look it up, but it means like basically I eat up all the road debris and spit it out or something like that. So like they had all these old ads of like the tire guy like with a plate full of like nails and screws and broken glass, and he's just eating it up with a spoon or whatever.
That tire guy sounds tough as shit.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, it's funny. Since we're talking about Bibendum and the Michelin Tire Man, he looks kind of like, obviously, if you see today, he looks like kind of a white marshmallow guy, yeah. And the reason for that is early on, tires used to be made of natural rubber, which is white, and so what his character was actually supposed to be a man made of stacks of different sized tires. And they're all very thin. So, like, in the old pictures from, like, the late 1800s of their mascot are terrifying.
Yeah.
They are scary fucking pictures. It is a very scary mascot. I'm like, I would not be encouraged to buy anything looking at this guy. But that is why he's actually white. Now, this is a kind of funny point where I'm just like, at a certain point, like tires, I forget when, I think it was 1912 or 13, somewhere in there, they started really adding a lot. It became common to add carbon to the rubber. And so tires have been black for well over 100 years. And I can't help but what I'm like, all right, at a certain point, like I feel like they should have transitioned Bibendum to being made of black tires. But he has remained white the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know what the thinking is there, but maybe it'd be too weird, like it's so late now that maybe they can't really do it. I don't know, but I'm like, interesting.
Maybe they were just early on being really reluctant to do blackface.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're like, well, if we make him black, then he's got to play jazz or something,
Yeah, so anyway, it was an interesting thing that I had the thought. I was like, I haven't seen a white tire in quite a while. I don't know, man. Maybe this brand needs a little update.
I mean, if he was turned black at some point, he would just go back to being white now because, people would just say the black Michelin Man was a DEI hire.
Yeah, what the hell? Michelin's gone woke? Are you kidding me?
I hope no fucking reactionaries listen to this. They're gonna actually find a way to go back to using just white tires.
No.
Well, I mean, isn't there the reason that they put the carbon in there is to make them stronger?
Oh yeah, they're much better tires.
Yeah.
That is not the reactionary concern.
Okay.
We will let things get worse as long as it means that we win.
Okay. Well, I hope all the reactionaries get flat tires.
Yeah, I want them to go to white tires.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Michelin developed and patented a key innovation in tire history in 1946 was the radial tire, which is what most tires you use today. And successfully exploited this technological innovation to become one of the world's leading tire manufacturers. The radial was initially marketed as the X tire. So they were like, before Elon Musk, they're like, it's the X tire, man. And it was developed with the front-wheel drive Citroen Traction Avant and the Citroen 2CV in mind.
Okay.
I don't know why that matters specifically. But anyway, that's what they developed it for. Michelin had bought the then-bankrupt Citroen in the 1930s. Because of its superiority in the handling and fuel economy with the better tires. Use of this tire quickly spread throughout Europe and Asia. In the U.S., the outdated bias ply tire persisted with a market share of 87% in 1967. So we kept our shitty old tires for a long, long time.
America being behind on things? That doesn't sound right.
Yes. And then I think I forget. It kind of gets into it. I may have to elaborate. But in 1966, Michelin partnered with Sears to produce radial tires under the Allstate brand. And was selling 1 million units annually by 1970. So if anyone wants to go back to our old Sears episode, Sears used to be in everything before they let a libertarian run the company anyway.
Yeah.
Which, really entertaining episode. You should definitely go listen to the libertarian running Sears.
It was a fun one. I think also in one of the ones on, I think in Unsafe at Any Speed, Ralph Nader is like, why the fuck are Americans not using radial tires? Like, come on, that's obviously better.
So in 1968, Michelin opened its first North American sales office and was able to grow that market for its products rapidly. By 1989, the company had 10% market share for OEM tires purchased by American automakers. Also in 1968, Consumer Reports, an influential American magazine, acknowledged the superiority of the radial construction, setting off a rapid decline in Michelin's competitor technology. So the bias ply tire died essentially after that kind of Consumer Report came out. So obviously now the radial tire in the U.S. has a market share of 100%. So yeah, it's a better tire.
I still have bias ply tires.
I believe it. I mean, some of those.
No, I mean drag tires
are
bias ply.
Okay.
Motorcycle tires are bias ply. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because of the way they are. Some of them kind of have to be. And yeah, you can get like Restom, like bias ply, getting bias ply proper tires for a regular street car. They're really expensive because there are specialty companies that do it, but they technically are still out there for various applications.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, so anyway, now that we've pretty much covered a lot of the, tire company aspect of this, I kind of wanted to talk with Hugo about your experience working in kind of high-end restaurants in general, and just like let's nerd out a little bit about, fancy restaurants and shit.
Yeah, no, I will say, like, a lot of the stuff I called my friend Eric, he was the assistant manager for the fancy restaurant I worked in, and then he went to a Michelin restaurant after I had left.
Yeah.
And I forgot how much fun it was to work in fine dining. Like, we do nerd out a lot. It was it's kind of a fun experience in your early 20s. When I got hired, so I worked at a place called Spice Market in the meatpacking district. So it's like a beautiful area. If you've ever been to meatpacking, it's like it used to be literally meatpacking. If you watch all the old 70s films, like they used to sell fish and meat, and like the streets are brick. And now it's just like all high-end restaurants and boutiques and stuff. But Spice Market is a Southeast Asian cuisine restaurant, which is owned by Jean-Georges. And Jean-Georges has several, I don't know how many Michelin star restaurants he has now, but I know like Jean-Georges still has 2 Michelin stars, which is like his main. But Spice Market was kind of like still high-end. Getting hired there was crazy. It was 90 people showed up for the interview.
Holy shit.
The place seats like 300. It's 2 floors. It's beautiful. It was like wood all throughout. It looked like you were in like Vietnam or Singapore. Like if you Google Spice Market interior, like you'll see how beautiful it was. So I was super impressed. Everyone had headshots. It felt like we were at a casting call, and I am not an actor, and I was very confused, and I knew right away that I was not going to get hired. Some guy came out in like a very expensive suit and pretty much told us that only out of like, he's like, right now there are 110 of you here, and only 8 of you will be hired.
Wow.
So the interview process went pretty fast, but I actually did get the call back. And
wow.
And then it was 4 weeks of training. 1 week of just trailing where they just called and they were like, show up in all black at 6 p.m. And like you had to come in like a black button down, and you just stood different places and watched everyone work. And then I was in prep for a week where I literally just had to cut onions and, you know, roll pasta and do, I don't even remember. And then there was a week where I was just working in the kitchen upstairs. It was an open kitchen, so from the dining room you could see everyone cooking. And there were like multiple stations. All the chefs are like straight out of culinary school. So, and our main chef, the cuisine, was Chef Rico, who was on Top Chef. And he's actually a really cool guy. He runs the William Vale now. He's like a really like old like Brooklyn dude. Actually, he's like old. He's like, I think he's like 2 years older than me. But it was just super intense. There were tests. You had to memorize the cuisine. You had to memorize ingredients in the food, where the ingredients came from. And then when you finally, by the time we got through it all, out of the 8 of us that got hired, 4 of us became servers. And within 3 months, 2 of them were gone. So it was super intense, but it felt like you were like kind of like in an elite group. Everyone knew their shit. And it really felt like it was kind of like a dance because they taught me how to like pour wine and, you know, serve food from a certain angle. Like you're not supposed to go in through the left. You're only supposed to go in through this side. And it was just, there was like a lot that went into it, but like once you got it, it was just like, it just made sense. And now whenever I go to other restaurants, like if you just go to an IHOP, you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe they just, you know, she just grabbed my beer bottle from the, like where I'm going to put my lips, you know, and like put it down at the table. Like, oh my God, that's disgusting. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. Spice Market was kind of sexy. And by sexy, I mean like it was, the girls had backless uniforms. We all wore orange. I think you could probably Google the uniforms. It's like an orange, like the men wore like it's kind of like a Asian looking like tunic thing. They were basically scrubs. And the women were backless. And the reason people brought headshots is they only hired like, I realized this later, like they only hire like super good looking people.
I mean, I had a feeling when you mentioned headshots, I was like, and you know that feels kind of gross to me, but
it was,
you know, that's a gross thing, you know, for sure.
It felt cool like to work there because I was like, oh yeah, all my friends are like really, really good looking, and we all go out partying all the time. And like, if you look at my Facebook profile pictures from like 2009 to 2012, you're like Hugo just hangs out with like the best looking people in New York City. So yeah, it was like super fun for that. But like, dude, we were making so much money and we were getting like not a lot. And I really felt bad for the chefs. The chefs, like I said, they went to culinary school. I'm just like a dude who memorized some ingredients. These guys actually know what they're doing. They were making like $300 a week. And
that's crazy.
I did not run food. We had food runners for that I tipped out. I did not bus tables. We had bus boys for that. I basically walked around in my little tunic and I smiled and told people about the menu and I punched stuff into the computer and I was making $1,000 a week.
Wow.
And like,
nice.
It's so messed up. Like the way it works. Like I feel like the people that work the hardest were making the least amount of money. And like, we were like the face.
I think there is a reason a lot of people want to push for like not tipping restaurants and just, you know, have some sort of equal tier of wage.
Yeah. Because the restaurant isn't paying us. You're paying us. And like the restaurant should be paying us. The restaurant is making so much money, especially that restaurant. Like every meal costs, I mean, this is like 2010, but still the meals were like $60, $70. And, you know, so, and I know it's only costing them like $8 to make, you know, so.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyway, the cool thing about being in the business is that because you work in fine dining, you're invited to eat at other fine dining restaurants automatically. Yeah. And then you get VIP treatment. So whenever I wanted to eat somewhere, I would just tell my manager like, hey, I wanted to try, you know, Perry Street, and they'd call and be like, "Hey, we have a server from Spice Market," and it would say when I showed up for my reservation, it would say like Spice Market, server, and they would.
Yeah.
I would order like 5 things, and the chef would come out, say hi to me, welcome me, and then I would get like 11 things. So I would spend $100. I would probably spend like $150, but I got like $700 worth of food. Well, probably like $400 worth of food, and like we would our check would be like my check would say like 120, even though I clearly ordered $180 worth of food. And I would leave an extra $100. So I would leave like $100 tip every single time.
Yeah.
So so that was a cool thing because I got introduced to all these restaurants for like a pretty low price.
Yeah. That's super cool.
But if you want me to tell you about an actual Michelin star restaurant, like I said, Eric went to work at Per Se, which is Thomas Keller. Per Se, Thomas Keller was on The Bear, actually. I think he was in season 3.
Oh, I haven't watched season 3 yet, but I have watched the first 2 seasons of The Bear, which is a good show. It's cool. And I've actually seen some breakdowns of like how realistic is a lot of what they're showing and saying, and the truth is a lot of it is actually pretty realistic for how they actually approach food, like what that fine dining actually does look like. They actually do use like fucking tweezers to do shit, and like sometimes you're like it's a bit much, but it's a cool experience. And one of the things that I find like that I think is just kind of funny, where it's like, when we talk about capitalism versus socialism, what makes them like these fancy restaurants so good is labor. It's not like, yes, they use good ingredients, sure, okay, that's a given, but like there's a lot of things where it's like they age the meat. Anyone can age meat. That's not like, that is a natural process. It's just time and it's labor and people who are very good at what they do, and we could have more of that. There's no reason that we actually can't. And what happens under capitalism is obviously we cut costs. And I'm not saying that every restaurant should be super high quality in the same way, because I don't want that every day. Who would? But it is one of those things where you're like, actually we could probably have a lot more of this. And it comes down to the labor and treating workers with respect and giving them the ability to like actually give a shit about what they're doing, right? You can't give a shit about what you're doing when you work at McDonald's. There's just it's not the same kind of thing. But when you give people the ability to be creative and to actually showcase work that they care about, the results are pretty good. So anyway, it's a thing that I've noticed where labor is really what makes these restaurants special.
I don't understand why the chefs. I never understood how the chefs loved it so much, because the chefs were they were the ones doing all the work. They were the ones that were the artists. And I don't understand how they did it for $3. I'm telling you, I've seen their check. I used to see their checks. It was like $340, $350 a week, and they were there longer. They were working longer hours because they were prepping, and they were.
Yeah, I don't get
and
that.
Anthony Rico was right. Anthony Rico's a great guy, but he was right there behind them like, that's fucking wrong. Don't ever do that in my kitchen again. And like, they were under like heavy scrutiny. And meanwhile, I'm walking around like a little stoned and just like, I think the Merlot would go really well with that, sir. Like,
did chefs get tipped out or anything? Like, I don't.
No,
yeah, I'm
absolutely not.
Yeah, I do have to wonder, I was under the impression that they got paid relatively well.
I've worked in kitchens before. It's been a while, but all my friends here are service industry, so
That's shitty to me. I don't see why that's necessary at all.
I think so. A lot of them, because they went to Spice Market, and I think Spice Market is one of those. Well, a lot of these fine dining places are one of those places that hires. There's the kind of place that'll hire people right out of culinary school just so that they can have it on their resume. And I follow a lot of the people that I worked with, a lot of the chefs, and a lot of them, like, there's one that like she runs a bunch of sushi places in Japan. She is now like I'd have to look up her name, but she's like a lot of them. One moved to Brazil, and he runs a restaurant in Brazil, like a very nice high end Brazilian restaurant. And like, so a lot of them did go on to do great things because I know they had like this foundation of, this is like, you gotta like work at this place for like $300 a week. Yeah, you gotta pay your dues. But I do think they're taking I know they were taking advantage of people, and they still are. I know like most of these places are just like using these guys. But I was gonna say, yeah, it's just like the bear because remember that episode where he sends cousin to like train at a really nice restaurant? That was what training was like. Like they would just like I would just be watching. So per se, Eric was telling me about it, and so basically they didn't need to make any money because the building was fun. They got funding from the building to have the restaurant. So I think their rent was like really reduced. And a lot of times he's like the biggest differences is that like there would be more staff in the restaurant than there were people eating. And like granted the food was super expensive. Like if you look up the menu right now, I think right now it's the minimum I think is $4.25 per person. I think there's like another room where you could eat and it's like $2.85 per person. But usually the minimum is $4.25, and then the main menu, like the real chef's tasting menu, is like $8.25. Which we had tasting menus at Spice Market, but they were $60 per person and $85 per person. So Spice Market was like way more affordable, but this is like
So was Per Se like how many stars did that actually have? Just out
Per
of
Se originally it had 3 stars, and I think while Eric was working there, they actually lost a star, and things got really crazy.
I'm gonna be honest. I knew restaurants were expensive. I thought that like high-end expensive restaurant meant like $300 to $500. You're fucking my shit up right now.
Spice Market is a high-end expensive restaurant that is $300 to $500. Like for 2 of us to eat dinner there, we could spend like $250 and be happy. Per Se is like Michelin star restaurants is a whole other level.
Yeah, you're telling me $8.25 for a tasting menu, and I'm like, nope.
And that's without the
add-ons. Hold on.
I've bought cars for less.
All right, hold on. Okay, to be clear, that is not like necessarily an average experience. Like even there's a 3-star restaurant in Chicago. It's probably like one of the most famous. It's called Alinea. Alinea, I think I didn't look at the exact prices, but it's somewhere between like $450 and $500, and that is some of the best food you can get. It's not $800. That is pretty wild. But like, hey, it's still $500 a person.
That's insane.
That is a lot of money.
Insane.
That is a lot of money. There's no way around that. But like, I'm also not saying that like, hey, I have spent $500 doing a fucking, some stupid shit to my car. So like, it's like, well, it's I would consider going to there. If it was $800, I that would be off limits to me. That straight up, that is not within the realm of possibility for me personally. So I don't think that like $800 is like an average. I think I actually do have some averages listed in my notes further, so we'll kind of get into that. So yeah, I wouldn't be too scared off by that necessarily, but yeah, that's a lot of money for sure.
$370 was what it was when I was working at Spice Market. It was $370 per person to go to Per Se. I think in 2010.
That's more tolerable.
Again, there's 2 tasting menus. There's the regular tasting menu, and there's the chef's tasting menu. The chef's tasting menu is the one that I'm saying is the high end one. And I think back then,
that's super crazy.
Back then it was like $700 or $600 something. Now it's $800 something.
And to be clear about what I mean, I did not realize that restaurants were that at all. Like, I figured like a handful of restaurants in the world might approach that price. I didn't realize that, like, I mean, not that that's a common thing, but I don't know what I'm saying. That's still rocking my shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's common at all. Like, that's insane.
No, it's not.
You have to like save to go there.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just go on vacation if I was going to do that, bro. Like, are you kidding me?
I don't spend that much on vacations, and that's not a joke.
No, yeah. Oh, and what I was going to say is, he was saying it was like, so it's like $370 per person, whatever, but that's just like the base. You're not including wine, and you're not including add-ons. So add-ons would be like a different type of caviar, like a better caviar for a certain course, or like
I didn't know there was different types of caviar.
You can have the regular beef or the Wagyu beef. And, like, they'll tell you that, like, oh, the tasting menu has this, but you can upgrade to the Wagyu beef. And it's like, dude, I'm already spending $400. Might as well get the Wagyu beef.
And I'm over here like, what kind of vegetables y'all got?
You know, actually, it's funny.
Wagyu parsnips back there.
Look, so I don't have this in my notes, so I'm just going to touch on this kind of briefly, and I'm going to kind of just throw it out there, mention it. It kind of goes back to this, like, what could we have if we gave a shit? When it comes to Wagyu beef, like, I've had some Wagyu beef, some very expensive Wagyu beef, and it was great. It was wonderful. I'm glad I've tried it. That's super cool. But I kind of like looked up, like, okay, you know, what does it take to have Wagyu beef? Like, what actually goes into that? And, you know, the process is there are other aspects to it, but it comes down to a few simple things. One, the cows generally live a little bit longer, so they give them probably about another year on their life, which I think is good. They also generally live a largely stress-free life, so they don't go to large feedlots. They're not allowed to, like, see other animals get slaughtered. And I go, that seems good and probably should just be the norm. And then there's the other thing is like, oh, the diet. The diet's super important. Oh my goodness, the diet is important. They have to, like, there's a few certain things that are acceptable, and it's like, okay, they can have barley, they can eat grass or something. And I'm like, hold on. You mean to fucking tell me that this super expensive special beef just comes from cows that get to eat fucking grass and, like, live another year? That is essentially, again, there's more to it, and I'm sure people who are purveyors of Wagyu beef would like you to think that there's more to it, but really, they're not mistreated, they live a little bit longer, and they get to eat fucking grass like they're supposed to. And that's what makes the best goddamn beef in the world. And to me, I go, hold on, why the fuck is that? Why are we eating anything but that? What do you mean? And of course the reason is capitalism. We know that. But, like, just throwing it out there that, like, literally we could have the finest beef imaginable by treating animals slightly better and letting them eat what they're fucking supposed to. It does boggle my mind a little bit that that's a luxury good. It's a luxury good to just, like, have what peasants used to fucking eat. Like, this is what peasants used to eat. And this is the finest shit. So, anyway, I didn't go too deep into it. I didn't put it in my notes specifically, but, like, that's what you're paying for. So, just mentioning it since we're talking about Wagyu
Under
beef.
communism, all beef is Wagyu beef.
Exactly.
All beef would be
Exactly. Fuck
Well,
yeah.
Okay, I will say under communism, all beef might be Wagyu beef, but you might get it twice a year.
That's true.
No, and that's fair too. Like, we could have less.
It would be so much better
but-
then if you only had it twice.
But in a socialist system, we could, like, you know, plan this out a little bit, kind of distribute it a little bit more evenly. So anyway, I'm just saying it's really crazy that, like, we're destroying the planet and, you know, fucking doing the worst, most evil shit imaginable to have worse quality goods.
Yeah. I forget what the context was, but I saw it was like part of some documentary or whatever, like a representative from, like, the Texas Cattle Ranchers Association or something like that. And he was bragging about, like, you know, we've increased production by this much and we're getting more meat out of fewer animals. And that makes me think, well, either they're, like, you know, using some meat that maybe they shouldn't, or they're just getting these animals so fat that they're getting, you know, that much more meat out of each animal.
How about both?
You know?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just, it involves just, like, the more they mistreat the animals, the better it is for their profits. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that.
I'll also add
that
here
should
that
be
it's
outlawed.
worth noting that the meat industry in the U.S. is only sustainable because of subsidies to, like, those industries.
Correct.
It is like a pound of beef would be something like 4 to 5 times more expensive if not subsidized heavily the way it is by the government.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, like, about the price of Wagyu beef. Like, I wonder how, if at all, that is subsidized, because it's like, I feel like regular beef should be closing in on those sorts of prices if billed properly. I don't know, like that market's all
That's
sorts
almost
of fucky.
certainly, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's any kind of agricultural business in the U.S. is totally fucky that way. But like, a big part of the expense too is the mystique around it, the super exclusive feel. But like, when you dig into it, you're like, hold on, they're eating grass, and like there's not much to it. It really is. It is a little bit shocking when you discover that actually we could just all have this. Like, it's not. It's literally, this is what peasants would have eaten. Like, it really does come down to some fucking weird shit, and that should be the norm. Actually,
I also will say that, like, especially when it comes to fine dining, like, just as someone that worked in the service industry and enjoyed it, if it was a livable wage and they gave us benefits, because that's the other thing. Like, I did make a little more money, but I had no benefits, and if I didn't show up to work, I didn't get paid. And
bullshit.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's bullshit. That shouldn't be that way. Yes.
But like, I loved it. I really do enjoy it. But like, it sucked because like, I can't live like this. Like, this is good in my 20s. But like, if they treated us fairly, then every restaurant could be like this. Every restaurant,
100%.
because a lot of it is just the experience. And I think, again, back to the bear thing and like, what Eric was telling me about per se is that it was all about presentation and just the way. So another funny thing is that he never got yelled at by a manager. The managers just kind of like showed up and said a couple of things, and then it was the workers who would flip out on you if you did something wrong. And so it was like passed down like that, and then they would all do this dance, like literally around the tables, and like they would all show up, and before they walked in with the food, they'd be like, "We're going to walk in on 3. You're going to be on positions 5 and 6. We're going to drop on 2. Then we're going to shift to so they'd literally all walk in at once.
Yeah.
Put one plate down. Everyone takes one step to the left and drops another plate. And it was just like, and then they just back out. So if you're sitting at the table, you're just like, whoa, that was so sick.
It's well, and it's so cool to experience, but it's one of these things where you're just like, and again, kind of in a more socialist sort of system, it's just like, hey, like, this could just be what we do. If we paid people a living wage, like, everyone is capable of learning how to do this, how to serve in a way. And a lot of people like to take care of people and serve. Like, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I like to do shit. Like, I like to be of service. And a lot of people like that. And so, like, literally every restaurant could just have that kind of experience. It could just be the norm. But, of course, capitalism, we know, does make it, ironically, is making it so that everything is a little bit worse, contrary to what they would have us believe. But yeah, it's
way more fun to work at a restaurant, because I worked at IHOP. I worked at P.F. Chang's. I worked at like the chain restaurants before I got here, and it's way more fun to work there because at these places because everyone was psyched about food and wine. Everyone knew everything about food and wine. We all presented professionally and it just makes you feel good. It feels like you're part of like this. It was almost like a performance. Like you feel like you're on stage, performing. And at the end, like my reviews, I used to save my reviews, my Yelp reviews. Like people would be like the big thing was exceeding guests' expectations. And it really did feel like my parents were like proud of me, So like I do feel like if we got paid enough, I would have stayed in that field. I don't understand how people still do it. But like,
that's wild. What did it feel like to have your parents be proud of you?
It was cool because I would bring them to the restaurant sometimes, like 2-3 times a year. I'd invite them out, and we'd go to these restaurants, and they would be like, the chef would come out and be like, "Your son is an exceptional human being," and you'd be like, "What is going on here?"
You're on a podcast with car guys. Our parents have only ever known disappointment.
So I think now, actually, we should probably do a little bit of a rapid fire here on some of the questions that I actually sent Hugo ahead of time. So just in case, if you don't have an answer, say, move on. It's not interesting or whatever. But just a few little questions we can answer real quick. But honestly, just hearing the experience already has been super awesome. Okay. What was generally your favorite part about working in the industry of like that fine dining industry.
Yeah, no, I think I mentioned it. I actually, everything I've said, I kind of like went through the questions first, and like I knew what you wanted to hear, so I kind of like tried to get those answers. But yeah, that was basically it. That like you were surrounded by people that actually enjoyed doing this stuff and like nerding out on food, and like also like another great part was like all these people that cared about food, like the chefs, everyone, we'd all go together to another fine dining restaurant and all get treated like we were like the way we treated celebrities when they came in. Like when we went to like Perry Street, they would treat us like that and like surprise us and be like, hey, and the chef would come out and like introduce a dish that we'd never heard of. They'd make things up for us. So it felt really good to be a part of a team that was like, everyone was excited to serve people and impress our guests, and then also get to experience what it was like from the guest perspective.
Yeah, actually, you did mention celebrities and stuff. Did you serve a lot of celebrities or a few notable ones, or just like what was that like?
It was fun. I think I always say my favorite celebrity ever was Sofia Vergara. She was the nicest.
And who is
Sofia
that?
Vergara is she was in she's a Spanish actress. She's in Modern Family. She's a Spanish woman in Modern Family. She's married to what's his face from Married with Children.
Oh, I would.
Oh, okay.
I just would not have assumed that she would be friendly.
She is like just like every time you went to the table, she would stop her conversation and be like, "Yes, baby, thank you so much. Can we just have a little more of this? Thank you so," and like put her hand on your hand and like thank you.
That's sweet.
To me, that would be just disingenuous, but it didn't.
No, it felt like this is who she really was. Like she just walked around doing that to everyone. No, yeah, we served a lot. Bruno Mars, Kelsey Grammer, like whenever, because it was New York, when I knew a new show would be coming out, because like the celebrities that were on the show would all show up together.
Okay, yeah.
So like Kelsey Grammer and Ray Romano's wife, they kept showing up to the restaurant like every 2 weeks, and I realized like 6 months later they came out with a new show where they were like newscasters or something. Mick Jagger. My funniest interaction was Kanye West.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Before he went crazy, he showed up. First of all, he showed up several times, and every single time I got him as the server. And I didn't understand why until I went up to the maitre d' and I was like, "Hey, how do I always get Kanye West?" And she's like, "Oh, every time he shows up, he's like, yo, that dude with the afro still work here? Let me get that tape." So every single time he would ask for.
That's cool. Okay, it is cool that Kanye West did specifically ask for you, although less cool where he is today.
Yeah, this is almost topical considering he's poked his head back out recently and not in the best of ways. But yeah, I mean, this sounds like it was from the era where Kanye was cool and still making good music? Or was this a little after that?
He was making really good music. Okay. This is like 2009.
Okay.
So he was still very normal. He was always a weirdo, though. The first time I ever served him, he was like, "Yo, let me tell you something. I got a shellfish allergy." And I was like, "No problem, Mr. West. I'll take care of that." He's like, let me get the black pepper shrimp, the crab dumplings," and he ordered like 7 things, 4 of them. And I was like, just so you know, Mr. West, like, half of these things have shellfish in them. And he was like, "That's cool."
What does that mean? What do you
cool?
do
You
with
have
that?
an allergy. It's not cool,
and
man.
then he ate them. They showed up at the and he ate them and nothing happened. And I told my manager. What? I told my manager and he was like, "Just bring him the things. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Just bring him."
Oh my god.
He's not telling you don't feed them to him. He's just saying maybe have an EpiPen on hand.
Didn't make any sense.
Holy shit. All right, that's a very funny story. Now, we do have to ask, we are obliged to ask, do you condemn Kanye West's recent statements?
Kanye West is a very sick, twisted person, and I think everyone around him is like just as evil. They are like, he's clearly off his meds. He probably is really racist, but I think he's off his meds too, and like no one is helping him.
Yeah.
I think my one pushback on that is to be off your meds, you had to be on them at one point to then be off them. I'm not sure.
He like announced that he was off his meds.
Oh,
because
really?
he's decided that he's not bipolar.
he was like,
he's actually autistic, so he doesn't need bipolar medication. Which, honestly, as a bipolar person, yeah, I could see making that decision and choice. But see, I managed to be pretty bipolar and very anti-racist. So, do with that what you will.
Yeah, not sure where the other part came from.
Yeah, you can do one without the other. They're not connected in any significant way.
Right.
Other than if you have those leanings, you might lean into them a little harder if you're off your meds.
Yeah. And then Hugo, I'm just curious, what was your least favorite part about working in the industry?
The hours suck. Just like 4 to midnight.
I love those hours.
4 to midnight.
Yeah.
4 to midnight at a restaurant where like it's pumping. Like the music is pumping, it's lively, it's like you kind of have to be on your game the whole time. You're always, like I said, you're always getting tested. Like people will come in to sit down to eat who know their stuff, and they will ask you a very clear question about like what wine is supposed to go with this type of fish. And
that's a crazy thing to ask. That is absurd.
And I've
question,
always been
opinion.
really bad with wine. And I mean, we have sommeliers. Like we used to go to week-long classes, and I suck. Like every wine tastes like wine to me.
It's just like, I don't know. Pick the one. Which one do you like? Pick that one.
I think the key to being a sommelier is actually being able to fake it, not to actually.
Yeah, it's been proven to be bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
I wasn't going to get into
the
that rabbit hole, but yes, it is factually bullshit.
Now that you can like be like, hey, you can make it part of the experience and everything, but like the truth is, when they test them, they can't tell. They just
they fooled me, dude. They would test the crap out of us like several times, and then in the middle of like a staff meeting, like every shift we have a staff meeting. So in the middle, they would be like, and if you screwed up, then the next staff meeting they purposely picked you. You know what I mean? So you really had to like go home and like study and like I'd find myself in the middle of the shift when there was a downtime. I'd go back and talk to the bartender and be like, "Hey, so what do you think about like the one from Alsace? Like anything from France? Like different regions? Like what about the like?" You'd be like
That's
really
crazy.
like nerding out on it because you never know when you were gonna get hit. So yeah, the hours and wine.
So
yeah.
So to clarify on that, Hugo, were you saying that the customers would like try and catch you, like try and test you on your knowledge?
Yeah, because we're all supposed to be, like I said, we didn't bring food, and we didn't bring. Sometimes I brought wine. I did bring the wine, but for the most part, I was just supposed to know everything and be able to tell you what the best thing to have was. So I was supposed to be like knowledge, I was supposed to bring the knowledge about the wine and the food. So yes, the customers would be like, well, what do you think? Because last time I had this and like this one server served me this and it was absolutely terrible with the fish. So like, what should I have? And
Bullshit. They're lying. That is a lie.
They enjoyed their experience, went home, cross-referenced it, realized that it was incorrect. Suddenly they didn't like it and they complained about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was slightly less than perfect. I mean, the fanciest restaurant I ever worked at was TGI Fridays. So like, I don't know how much translates between fine dining and that, but like, did you ever do like I did and go hide in the walk-in freezer just to get away from everything, like from the stress of the day, or is that just a lower class dining thing?
We had a lot of alcoves. If you look at the pictures from Spice Market, it was great for that. There's a lot of little dark hidden corners, and it was a wonderful place. It was such a big maze of a building. So yeah, you could absolutely go to a lot of places to cry.
Yeah,
I personally cried several times throughout my years.
All right,
there.
that's rough.
There's a lot of times where you feel dumb. Because, like I said, someone smarter than you will show up. If you only knew, though, because I wish I knew back then, that's not the field where you will be made to feel the dumbest. It's the medical industry.
Oh, great. Even better.
Doctors make you feel like a complete idiot for not knowing every single section of the brain.
Fuck them.
Okay, so I don't even remember the name of the restaurant, but in my early 20s, I got hired at a higher-end restaurant for 1 week. and it didn't work out for a bunch of reasons. But I feel like I went into it, and they seemed to have this expectation that I would come in as an employee and know that I was less than nothing. And so they immediately felt comfortable talking to me that way. And I was like a 22-year-old crust punk. And very quickly was like, I'm sorry, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Excuse me?
I feel like the experience that they wanted me to have and needed me to have was to know that I am a subhuman. And when I came in not having that, it just didn't work out.
I will say the service industry, like especially with like chefs and like, you're not supposed to talk back.
That's crazy.
You will be, and it's not that no one is that. Sometimes it's not that they're like taking it out on you and calling you a bitch, but they're just like, that's not the way we do it here. This is the way we do it. And you're supposed to be like, look, and we talked about this with my friend Eric for Per Se. You just look them in the eye and you say, thank you.
Nope.
And then you do what they say.
Don't talk to me like a dog and then expect me to thank you for it. I was hired at this restaurant as a dishwasher, and then they started throwing all this other stuff at me, and I'm like...
Yeah, I feel like there's a look. I get it. It's important that you get it right. No doubt about that. But like, verbal abuse seems like is out of place. I'm like, hold on. I don't need to be talked to like like subhuman. Just let me know. I fucked up. Okay, cool. I'll fix it. No big deal. Like, what do you mean?
No, yeah, it's pretty bad, and it's not as bad for servers, but in the kitchen, like it's just like the bear. Like they will. That's why the bear is like actually a lot of my friends that are chefs. Like they do not watch The Bear, because it's kind of like traumatizing.
Yeah,
they will like a chef will. Anthony Rico again. I had a great experience. Rico was such a great chef. He was super nice. I'm sure he did flip out on the chef sometimes. He looks like a mean Brooklyn motherfucker, but he's actually like a really nice guy. But in other restaurants, oh my god, I've seen the chef throw pans at people, and they will curse you out. They'll belittle you. They'll kick you out of the kitchen for like small mistakes. So it's it's part of the oh my god, I forgot.
It's part of the culture. Like,
culture.
And that's something that like I'd like to see change. I don't think that's necessary to have high quality anything. I think that's a thing that's just normalized and accepted, and it doesn't need to be. That seems crazy to me. But anyway, despite that, I'm curious just what your thoughts are on having experienced like actually tasting the food. Like as someone who's like eaten this kind of food at these restaurants, what do you think is like, do you see value in that kind of food? As of course food is an important part of human culture. Like I know I've been to a single Michelin star place and I was like, yo, this is cool. So I'm just curious about your thoughts. You've obviously experienced quite a bit more than I have.
Yeah, no, the food's awesome. I think from the service perspective, I think of it as like a full experience. So it's not just the food. The food is like the last part. It's everything else. Like when you first walk in and you see like the way it looks and the way all the servers and the bartenders kind of carry themselves and the way you're spoken to, and when you sit at the table, the way they like set everything up and explain the menu. But no, dude, I've had some amazing, just the best burgers ever, and like just crazy. I love when like the chef would come out and like say some crazy, like just say something, and like you're like lost, and you just realize like Rico would take us out, and he'd be like, he just made this up for us. You'd be like, what? This is not on the menu. Like he knows I like duck fat, and he made this and he brought it out to us. So like, yeah, the food was crazy. They had every ingredient. They have super expensive ingredients in the back that they actually don't even have on the menu. Sometimes the chef orders a bunch of extra stuff, like fancy stuff for dishes that he's trying out.
Yeah.
So there'll be extra, I don't know all this stuff, but some extra Wagyu beef, that's not on the menu. And he'd just experiment and throw some crazy sauce on it and bring it out to a VIP table. So yeah, the food is awesome.
That's very cool. I feel like this will be a point, I think that I'll just interject a little bit, that like part of the reason I found this topic interesting was I went to a Michelin star place about 3 years ago. And I still remember it. It was super cool. So the place I went was, it's called Next. It is owned by the same people who own Alinea, which is the 3-star place I had mentioned before. And this is kind of like their experimental, like they're fucking around here a little bit. So it's kind of just like a lot of contemporary whatever. And I went with a couple of friends who were really into it, and my partner. And my partner said, "Hey, we're gonna go to this," and I was just like, "How much does it cost? $250 a person is what it costs." And I was like, "I don't know. That's I can't imagine spending that much on food. That's just too much." I was like, "Nah, I don't know." My finances were also not in the best spot at the time, and I was like, "No." I think I thought about it for probably a week or something, and my partner was like, let's do this once. Like, let's try this. She's like, she was going to go. She's like, I'm going with or without you. And I was like, okay, that takes the pressure off a little bit. And I thought about it. I was like, maybe I should try this. Maybe this is, I don't know. It's $250, which is a lot for one meal, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a fraction of my rent. It's a fraction of pretty much any car part I actually want. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, I was like, you know what? Yes, it's a lot for a meal, but like, how many meals do I get to have like that in my life? So I decided, I was like, all right, fuck it. You know what? I'll be irresponsible and I'll go for it. And I did, and it was worth it. Honestly, it's fucking, as much as it cost, it was worth every penny. It's like for years now, I can remember that fucking experience. And it was not just the food, it was the experience. Everything was like a dance. The way things came out, the way things were presented. And the shit they did with food, crazy. I was like, what? So I tried all kinds of cool shit. There was caviar on sturgeon. They had halibut. They had I don't even know what the fuck they did to this olive, but it was like a like a softened paintball, but it was an olive somehow. I don't know how. Crazy shit. They do stuff with foam. The dessert was fucked up dry ice cream shit that they put all over the fucking table, and you eat it off the table. It was crazy. What? It was a very cool experience. And so part of the reason I'm interested in this topic is I was like, you know what? I had to be really dragged kicking and screaming into that experience, and having had it, I'm glad I did it. And so it's one of those things if you think that's crazy, it's not something I would ever do, blah blah blah. I'm just saying, you're going to spend your entire life in this world eating once, twice, 3 times a day. You're going to have thousands and thousands of meals. How many of them are really that quality? And it's given that that's, a big part of human culture, it does seem worth spending a little bit of money once in a while. I'm not saying do this every month. I certainly fucking don't. I've been to one fucking starred place. But it's just something if you're traveling, or if there's a place in your city, a lot of people can swing $250 to go have a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And it's just something that I thought was I was surprised. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. And so I just kind of want to share that, hey, it was kind of fucking cool. And you might like it too. So it is, I think, a worthwhile experience. I don't think it's something you should do all the time. I don't think anybody listening to this show is a celebrity who can afford to be Kanye West going to the same fucking restaurant all the time. But it is a really cool experience. And there's also, we'll get into it a little bit as we go, the Michelin Guide is not just Michelin stars. They also have recommendations. And there's another category that I want to talk about right now, and just kind of go over a little bit. It's called the Bib Gourmand. The Bib Gourmand is Bib is for the mascot Bibendum, and gourmand is a connoisseur. So it's it means basically a connoisseur of food. And this is basically just their designation that is this is good quality food. We've tested it, but it also has to be under a certain cost cap. So it can't be outrageously expensive. These restaurants cannot be $250 a person. It's not allowed. So Bib Gourmand restaurants are generally much more affordable. I've been to at least one, I'm sure probably others because I wasn't paying attention before, but I've been to the Duck Inn in Chicago, and it's super cool. It was great. And it was also right at the end of the street on Loomis, where we used to street race. Right at the end of that street is the Duck Inn. And there's a bunch of spots where I'm we went there once, and as we were there, I was oh fuck, I know exactly where we are. here's all the old drift spots that I used to hit in the city. Like, here's where I used to drift over here and there. And so then, actually, funny enough, we went to the Duck Inn. We had it. It was great. A couple weeks later, we were talking. I was like, oh, yeah, we should go drifting, with my fiance, who, I don't drift on the street as much as I used to. And I was like, hey, maybe we should go out and street drift in the city. That could be a fun night. And then she's like, yeah, we'll have to go do dinner or something. I was like, what if we went to the Duck Inn again? So that's what we did. We went to this fancy, again, Bib Gourmand restaurant, very affordable. They had the best Brussels sprouts I have ever had in my fucking life. In my life. They were so unbelievably good.
Oh, I want that.
You try, and it's like, I cannot believe Brussels sprouts can be this good. And they're affordable. It's totally reasonable. So we had this wonderful fine dining kind of experience with a check that, wasn't really different than a normal fancy steakhouse or something. Actually, it was probably less than a typical steakhouse even. And then we went and street drifted. It was great. So, part of the reason I'm doing this episode is, if you haven't checked the Michelin Guide online, check in your area. See what's there. There is some use, I think, there. And if you like good food, this is, I think, a good thing to try.
Yeah, it turns out there's Michelin star restaurants in upwards of 6 or 7 places.
Actually, the U.S. does not have a ton of Michelin-starred places. We'll get into it. France has the most, obviously, because it's a French company. Actually, they also started recently going to, the UAE, which I think they just paid a bunch of money to be like, hey, come here and do stuff. And they have a ton of restaurants in the last, few years. They just started there. So anyway, I can kind of get into some of some more of the history here and stuff, and we'll try and keep it, sort of brief. I'm probably going to do a lot of reading. I hope that's all right with y'all. All right. So, just to get into a little bit of the history and kind of how the guide started and all that, and, the origins, let me get through some of this. So, in the year 1900, there were fewer than 3,000 cars on the roads in France. Pretty similar story in the U.S., right? Obviously, when they started, there weren't a ton of people who had fucking cars. They were kind of like a hobby for the rich. So, to increase the demand for cars, and obviously, naturally, demand for car tires, the car tire manufacturers of the Michelin brand published a guide for French motorists. The guide Michelin, which, obviously is the Michelin guide. So initially, nearly 35,000 copies of its first free edition were distributed, and it provided information to motorists such as maps, tire repair, replacement instructions, car mechanics listings, hotels, and gas stations. So, if you can imagine, they didn't have a smartphone. Anytime you wanted to travel anywhere, you actually had to know where could you stop, where could you get gas, where could you eat, all of that stuff. So this is kind of like the Yellow Pages, but geared towards, essentially hobbyist motorists. Now, during World War I, publication of the guide was suspended, I think for obvious reasons. And then after the war, revised editions of the guide continued to be given away until 1920. Now, that's at a point, it said that André Michelin, while visiting a tire shop, noticed that copies of the guide were being used to prop up a workbench. And so that was kind of he was like, all right, I don't know about giving these away for free anymore. This seems like maybe not the best. So he kind of based it on the principle that man only truly respects what he pays for. They decided to actually start charging for the guide about 7.5 francs, whatever, which was about $2.15 in US dollars in 1922. They also made several changes. They started listing restaurants by specific categories, adding hotel listings, initially only for Paris, but expanding later, and removing the advertisements. So obviously they used to have ads in there. They removed them when it became a paid thing. So the early guides had info about actually just general car maintenance and repair, so they were kind of just useful even for just that, especially when that knowledge wasn't exactly widespread. And they also had basic information about how to drive and the rules of the road. So that was actually like a pretty useful guide. That's why everyone had them. And in fact, you know, they had 35,000 guides that went out initially, even though there was only 3,000 cars on the roads. So like the guide had a lot of usage outside of just, you know, people who had cars. Now, in 1904, they began making guides for other countries, and the first one they did was Belgium, and then Algeria, which obviously was a French colony at the time. So they were given out for free, and then obviously they were kind of treated like junk mail, so they removed the ads and then made them a paid thing. They stopped making the guide in World War I, and when they started up making it again, this is basically, for whatever reason, kind of when the guides stopped being held in high regard. So it was just kind of like, even though it was free and had ads in it before, it was treated as, you know, generally pretty good. After World War I, for whatever reason, they started printing again, and people were just like, this is worthless. Partially, I'm sure, because a lot of the information just already existed. Like, you could just use an old guide. So, anyway, that's when they started charging, and they started to change things a little bit. So they started focusing more on the hotels, and then they also realized that people were paying the most attention to the restaurant guide. So they began to actually just focus there. They recruited a team of what they called mystery diners to evaluate the restaurants anonymously, and that's pretty much what started the Michelin Guide as we know it today. Now, the star was born in 1926, and then the 3-star system started in 1931. And then for the first time, the explanation of the ratings was actually published for all to see in 1936. It's also noteworthy that the maps in the guide were actually just some of the best maps you could get for Europe at the time. They, for whatever reason, they hired the best cartographers in Europe to do the guides. And then, so they were actually like used by militaries during the Second World War to navigate France and Belgium. So the U.S. military even reproduced a copy of the 1939 guide to distribute to its forces. So it seems like all the militaries pretty much used the Michelin Guide maps for warfare. So Michelin Tire Company, a defense contractor, I guess. Now, in 1957, that's actually when they started doing the Bib Gourmand designation that I talked about, like the kind of like cheaper, more affordable, like regular, like good restaurants. That was 1957. And then in the 1950s, restaurants that had earned stars were becoming very expensive. So the more affordable category was introduced to like kind of keep the guide useful for people like us, working class people who couldn't afford to go to most of those places most of the time. Now, there were also similar guides that were printed for like decades before the Michelin Guide, but they weren't really geared towards motorists because, well, cars weren't really a thing before that. So the Michelin Guide kind of just part of like owes its popularity to the time at which it was introduced and how they geared it towards motorists, which, as we know today, was a pretty good bet, right? It was like the early days of the internet. Like, everyone had a car eventually. And, you know, the story kind of goes that, like, they were trying to obviously increase demand for driving and for tires because they're capitalists and they make more money when they sell more tires. And I was kind of like, at first I was like, well, I don't know, that seems like a pretty, like a silly get-rich-quick scheme, and like, I don't know, tires today last forever. That seems like a pretty bad system. But like, when you really think back to like what tires used to be, they didn't last nearly as long. So every fucking trip you took was really wearing those tires, especially when they were just natural rubber. The other thing was I actually came across like an old diary guide of like a road trip from across the United States, in which people it was a young woman's diary, and it did mention like kind of the struggles of doing a long range driving trip, and what I learned from that was basically not only did tires like wear quicker, they also got a fuckload of nails in them. Like today, everyone's gotten a nail in their tire, but like back in the day, you used to get like crazy amounts of nails in your tires. I don't know why, but like one, they were shittier, right?
It wasn't until like 1950 we discovered it was bad to pave roads with just nails.
I mean, tires used to be much weaker, right? So they used to be much more impervious to nails, debris, shit like that. But tires used to pop all the fucking time. Today we take for granted that your car is gonna get you to work. Back in the day,
speak for yourself.
Well, I was about to say maybe not us on this show, but yeah, apparently tires would get fucked up all the time. So like people do a road trip and they might have to do 5 tire changes just on their road trip. So like when you think about it like that, it actually makes a lot more sense that, oh yeah, okay, I can see how publishing a guide that encourages travel would in fact lead directly to a big increase in tire sales. So actually it was less of a crazy scheme than I had initially thought. So yeah, just a little bit of a little noteworthy. Now they also kind of spread out pretty quick in how they were doing guides. So in 1904 they started with the first guide for Belgium. 1907 it was Algeria and Tunisia. 1908 they added Italy, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. 1910 they added Germany, Spain, and Portugal. 1911 they added Ireland and the British Isles. And then it wasn't until 2005 that the guide came to the United States.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shockingly, we have actually not had Michelin ratings for a very long time. Now, one of the advantages that they had over their competitors at the time early on was the profitability didn't actually matter to them. So like other guides, the guide was the business. So they actually had to make money on the guide. For Michelin, it was like a marketing expense. So that actually allowed them to survive in a market that's probably pretty tough. Like they weren't expecting to make money, and that's why they were able to actually become so widespread. Because it was essentially just a marketing thing that would help them sell more tires. So sort of that unique positioning is why the Michelin Guide is so dominant today. So kind of talking about the guide as it exists more today, now that we've kind of gone through some of the history, we'll talk about what generally matters to most people today. So it didn't come to America until 2005, and then in 2007, the guide went to Japan, which Japan has a shitload of Michelin restaurants, like a shocking number. And there's a theory we'll get into about that. But so generally speaking, right now, the total number of Michelin-starred restaurants is somewhere around 3,200 restaurants. And that is spread out over about 30 countries. So there's 680 in France. There's 539 in Japan. 420 in the UAE, which literally just produced its first guide in 2022. So, like, that's a huge jump. Then 381 in Italy. And then there's only 235 in the United States. So much, much less than most of the European countries, where the guide exists, obviously, is a little bit more well-known. There's also about 217 in China, if you include Hong Kong and Macau, which I don't know why you wouldn't. I believe in a fucking one China, man. I think it's crazy that anybody expects. They're like, oh, well, this isn't part of China. I'm like, fuck you. Yes, it is.
The more I learn about China, the more I'm surprised anyone would not want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, what are you doing? Also, Hong Kong and Macau, I don't know why they like list those separate. They're like right next to each other. And they're also, both of those cities, look, I'm stupid, I'm uncultured, I don't fucking know anything, so like please take this with a grain of salt, but like I looked on a map and Hong Kong is tiny, man. Like, and they've got I think 78 Michelin starred restaurants, which is crazy, but it's a tiny little place. So is Macau. And then right next to both of those, like on mainland China, like just a few miles away, I think the city is Shenzhen. and like that's a much bigger looking city. And I'm like, why the fuck do I hear so much about Hong Kong, dude? This is like a fucking nothing. So anyway, I always thought Hong Kong was some huge city, and looking at the map, it does not compare to like the next nearest like China proper city. So I thought that was.
I think the reason is it was just a big port for a long time.
It's also a big talking point.
Yes, that too.
Like as the veil is lifted around China, even I, who have been pro-China for years, am learning the extent to which there are massive metropolitan areas that I've just never heard mentioned by name.
Yeah. They have like what we have. I'm like, yo, their cities are different, man. We are nowhere near that. So,
like they're living in the future. They're, as far as we're concerned, they are fucking Wakanda. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like a small town there is 20 million people or something.
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Chicago is a small backwater little shithole compared to a lot of these cities in China.
Yeah, I live in what would be a Chinese village. Like
a tier 5 city, and I'm like, what?
Pre-communism.
Yeah, I mean, New York has like 9 million people in it, and I think that's like a mid-size city in China.
True? Holy shit!
From what I've read, I mean, that's like a pretty average city, like metropolis in China.
Every day.
Yeah, as Americans, we think that New York City is like the center of the world, and it's fucking not.
Yeah. Sorry, Hugo.
It feels like the center of the world here, basically because of the restaurants.
Yeah,
that's fair. But I know that it's not. It doesn't even come close. Especially seeing how, like I said, I was actually just looking through my mutual friends from Spice Market and like seeing where the chefs are now. Like a lot of them are. I just saw. I think 3 of them are in Japan.
Yeah. Yep. So Japan, very big for Michelin star stuff, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But just for general, the distribution of the stars is basically I think it's about 80% of the restaurants have 1 star, and that's about 2,640 stars out of the 3,200. 2 stars, there's 417. 3 stars, there's 143. Now, these numbers could be, a little bit old, so give, plus or minus 10 or whatever on these numbers, but you can see it drops off quite a bit the more stars you add. So any type of restaurant can actually qualify for 1 star, including street food. And pretty famously, I forget which country it's in. I believe it is one of the Southeast Asian countries. I believe it is in Thailand. There's like a street vendor that has a 1 Michelin star, and you can get like a special rotisserie chicken that is just perfect, and it's like $1.50. Yes, so. I believe the guy did actually, in the last couple of years, lost the star, but like, still, it's fucking phenomenal.
He probably didn't care when he got it or when he lost it. Like,
no, he did. Guy kept doing his thing, but yes, there is like a fucking food cart.
Some Michelin guy stopped for a snack, like traveling city to city, and was like, "Holy fuck!"
Yes,
exactly. It wasn't even that good. He was just really hungry.
Maybe he was high,
super stoned on like Thai weed, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
He lost the star because the reviewer went back sober.
Now they do say the jump from 1 to like 2 stars is pretty big, and requires like a whole like top-notch service and experience, kind of what Hugo you were talking about. It's at that point it is about the whole experience. The 3-star restaurants are found primarily in France. There's 30 of them. Japan has 30. The U.S. has 13. Italy 11, and Spain also has 11. So obviously mostly in Europe. So this is where this is the average cost for a 2-star meal is $250. And a 3-star meal is $350. Now, I think in the U.S. it tends to be a little bit more expensive than that, but point being, it's expensive, obviously, but it's attainable for a working person if you save up, if you plan for it, if you don't do it every month. maybe you go every few years, but like a lot of people are able to at least save up a few $100s for a pretty irregular experience.
The one thing I'll say too is that you can go. So per se, like I said, they do have like an outer area that's not in the main dining room. That's $285 a person. I know that sounds super expensive anyway, but
it is. But
that's like you could go with a date for $500 and not get any wine or and just kind of to try it.
Pre-game
I can tell you.
Also,
I did not get any drinks when I went to the one star. It was like, no, we'll drink water. That's fine. And it was still great, And
I don't know what the deal is with Restaurant Week, but in New York we have Restaurant Week where you can go to fancy restaurants and you could pay. It's a prefixed lunch Restaurant Week menu and a prefixed dinner Restaurant Week menu, and you can make a reservation, and usually lunch is $35, dinner is $55. I don't know. That was back when I worked at Spice Market, so I don't know if the prices have changed, but it's actually going on right now. It's January 25th to February 9th.
Huh.
And you can potentially go to restaurants where you would never eat, and they have a special menu, which it's smaller portions or the cheaper stuff. I remember what it was on the Spice Market menu, and it was definitely not our best, but there was one really good dish on there. So you did still have the experience, and you had a tasting menu, and so you could, $55 a person is not bad. Plus some wine, you could have a good meal with your date for $160,
Yeah.
Plus tip.
Yeah, definitely tip. And actually, a lot of Michelin restaurants, they don't have tips. The one I went to, there was no tipping. It was just, they're like, no, this is all part of the experience. We get paid a living wage by the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, yeah. So you'll know ahead of time what kind of, how they do it. But, yeah, there's different ways that restaurants do it.
I wonder how much. I mean, how much does wine add to the cost of the meal?
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's where I made my money.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't have any wine, and I'm glad in that decision.
Now, can you bring your own Thunderbird and do an uncorking fee or whatever for that?
Yeah, there was an uncorking fee of $50, I think.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, it was really steep. They didn't make it worth it.
What is an uncorking fee? I don't know what that fucking means.
You can't open a bottle there. I have to open it for you and put it on and I bring you an ice bucket. Where we put the champagne and put it next to your table.
That legitimately, for no reason other than just to be a dick, makes me want to bring some Boone's Farm.
Yeah.
$2 chuck or whatever.
You can add on, sometimes on the tasting menu, you can add on the wine automatically, and they just suggest it, and it'll be an automatic charge of $35 per person. And with every course, we will bring you the wine that pairs with that course.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad.
But otherwise, no. Then a lot of tables, this is where I didn't understand. A lot of people would show up, and they would hand me the menu and be like, Hugo, take care of us. And I'd just be like, okay, what are are there any dietary restrictions? Do you have any allergies? No? All right. And then I would literally
wild.
I would give them whatever I wanted. I would show up with whatever wine I wanted. If something by chance was not good, I would bring my manager. My manager would just take it off the bill.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
So what you're saying is I should go to a Michelin star
and not enjoy anything.
do that, and then be like, "This was all terrible. This server fucked it up." Man.
I told him I had a shellfish allergy, and he just dropped me shrimp.
You brought me 4 types of shrimp, bro. I don't think they would. I have had. By the way, I did have multiple. I've had it not multiple times. I'd had it in the years I was there. I think I had it 3 times, where someone in a party at the end of their meal said they either didn't like it. One girl said there was hair in her pasta, and I brought it back to the station, and in the station, all the people that worked there, it was 3 dudes, and they were all bald. So and it was a hair that was like this long. So there was no way that we put the hair in the food. And my manager was like, "No, it's off the bill. Doesn't matter. Like, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
So you could do that. Just take off one of your hairs. Also, another. Well, this is a hack.
Waiter, there's a 2-foot-long gray hair in my food.
Another hack is if you take the tip of a glove and you put it in. That's a good one because the prep people use gloves. The problem is someone might get fired for what you.
Okay, don't do that.
But you could get away if you wanted a free meal. You could put a screw in the food and be like, "Hey, I found this in my room."
No. Our listeners should not do anything that could harm the workers. Please,
yes,
for the love of God.
Just show up and be like, there was a Fram oil filter in my meal? I don't know where this came from.
Yeah, I would be pissed if specifically by a Fram oil filter. Jesus.
I was going to make a joke. Like, it's not mine because it's a Fram. But...
Yeah, exactly. I would never use
I actually use Fram on the Ford. It's the only part number I know that will fit in the weird doghouse thing.
Okay.
Oh, that's really unfair.
I guess I can excuse you for that, but yikes.
They're these wide, stubby
change
ones.
it often.
Yeah, they're chode oil filters. Anyway,
yeah. So at this point,
real quick,
go ahead.
How are we on time, everyone? Is everyone good?
We're deep into the 2 hour and change mark.
Yeah.
I do think I should go. This guy's giving me the dirty look.
I'm
I gotta
powering
go.
through, but let's not forget that I currently still have pneumonia and I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, I think I can wrap this up in the next 15 minutes or less. I think we've gotten through the bulk of it. Hugo, our conversation with you and your experiences with it was the most important part. So if you're ready to jump off at this point, we can let you plug all your social media stuff, please. And then we'll kind of just finish up the rest of this without you, but we'll also have you just email us the audio file once you export it to an MP3.
Yeah,
I'll export it. Sorry.
I was just going to make the joke, like, let the person with the larger social media following than all of us combined, please, shout himself out to our 200 listeners.
Well, I mean, hey, if he gets one extra like out of it, then this was worthwhile.
If anything, we should ask him to post about recording with us and plug us.
That's really what I'm gonna do. Is just like I'll plug you guys.
Yeah.
I also make $0 off of the social media, so it's like all for nothing. It's like all for
go
fun.
buy a t-shirt.
I appreciate it. It's.
Oh yeah, the shirts. I forgot about. But you know what I should say? My wife always says this. I should mention that I calculate any profits we make, I automatically donate it to Palestine.
Oh, sick.
Oh, hell yeah.
And actually, I just got a picture. I did donate last month to Cuba for NOLA to Cuba, and all the medical supplies that we sent, they just made it, and they sent a picture of like a bunch of doctors with medical supplies in Cuba that we sent. We don't like. I think it comes out to like $25 to $30 a month. So that's what I donate because it's all just coming from the shirts.
That's awesome, though. I mean, hey, every little bit, money goes a long way in Cuba and Palestine.
Dude, I don't know if y'all
like
saw,
that.
but Cuba is now officially in BRICS, and I'm so excited to see what.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're all bricked up.
They really needed to. Medically, they have nothing. Like they were.
Yeah.
I sent gauze. I sent like stuff that we literally. I use 4x4s and gauze to blow my nose on the ambulance. And they don't have that. So I just like stuff like that was so easy to send.
Yeah, to have their medical infrastructure and no resources is wild.
Right?
It is.
Tons of doctors.
Yeah. So Hugo, thank you so much for joining us. We do really, it's been great to have you on. I'm so glad that you just have this wild, eclectic experience in just both eating at these places and working in these places. It's been super great to talk to you. But yes, please do plug your social media, your shirts, all of that stuff. Because we'd like our listeners to go and follow you and do all of that.
I'm at Seasamines Shirts on all social media platforms,
Including Red Note.
Including Red Note. Yes.
Everyone join Red Note.
Everyone join Red Note. Yeah, that's the only place that that's a place that matters. Yeah, it's been great being on the show. That was just super fun. And if you guys are ever in New York, let's go out to a fancy restaurant. I know some that aren't that expensive. I was going to say there's a lot of Michelin restaurants, Michelin chefs that have other restaurants.
Yeah.
And
if you find a place that'll feed me as a vegan, we'll make it work. I've actually y'all aren't that far
ABC
from me,
Kitchen.
and I used to live in Philly, so I'm kind of due out for a trip out there to visit some buddies in Brooklyn. So
ABC Kitchen was one of my favorites, and I think they have a lot of vegan choices.
That sounds familiar.
It's a Jean-Georges restaurant too. That was one of the favorite. I used to go there all the time. I haven't been in like 10 years.
I'm thinking of a shitty punk venue that had a similar-ish name. It might have been a
Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on, man. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on, man.
All right.
Good to talk to you, man.
Have a good one, guys.
Yep, you too.
Later.
I think our rule of thumb is that for every person on the show, we can add a half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. Well, anyway, let me get back into it. We're like I said, we're in the home stretch here. All right. So at this point, the guide does rate about 30,000 restaurants in 30 countries across the world. The guide, while the guide loses money, the parent company benefits in other ways, kind of like how we've discussed. It is a marketing kind of thing. So the brand equity and cultural cachet, especially in food crazy France, is worth a fuck of a lot to them. Like, it's just, again, France, I've never been to France. I don't know shit about France, but like, they're super weird about food and crazy. So I bet if you're eating at the fanciest restaurants and you're associating the Michelin name with quality, I suppose it's probably reasonable to assume that most people in France are probably using Michelin tires, especially as they're a French company. So, yeah. So anyway, they use it as a marketing thing. In the parent company filings, the guide business is bucketed under what they call Michelin experiences, which covers the fine dining, hospitality, and travel. So here's how they describe the segment. Michelin Experience remains an unrivaled vehicle for promoting Michelin brand and its premium positioning. Now, on the money side, one study estimates that the Michelin Guide's entry into a country increases Michelin tire sales by 3% in that country. And Michelin does about $25 billion a year in sales. So every percentage point that you increase the sales in a given country is a lot of fucking money. So like 3%, like, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about per country, that is kind of a big deal. So like, they are onto something. They're not wrong about how, even though it's funny, like, you talk to Americans and it's like, wait, the Michelin star people, that's the tire company? And you're like, yes.
You know the parallel between this and the Guinness Book of World Records, right?
I do not.
It's the same thing. The Guinness Book of World Records is from the Guinness, like, beer company, and
I did not know that.
Similarly, they started out as like a book of facts that people would throw in pubs because you didn't have the internet. You'd be drinking at a pub, and somebody would have an argument and say like, "Oh, well, let's consult the book that has the facts in it."
Yeah.
And
okay.
it was sort of like a gimmick that they did, and now I don't know the official attachment to the beer anymore, but the Guinness Book of World Records had that similar tie to Guinness as Michelin star restaurants had to Michelin tires. Like, it was a complimentary thing that they did that kind of spiraled into its own life.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem like these sorts of, gimmicks did kind of work. I mean, the evidence is pretty clear, right? They still exist. They still do their stuff. And, for whatever reason, it did work. So, especially for Michelin, it definitely, they have the data to back up that this does work. So, now there is a theory on why Japan specifically has so many 3-star restaurants. And the theory goes that Michelin wants to curry favor in Japan so that they can get more OEM manufacturing contracts. So like, you know, by doing Japan a solid and rating more of their restaurants and giving them more stars, you know, it's sort of this like, hey, from all the Japanese automakers, they'll be more likely to, you know, use our Michelin tires on their factory cars. So now what's weird is that I did look in the guide, and you know, unfortunately, if you live in the Detroit area, the Michelin Guide does not have anything rated in the Detroit area. So I, you know, for what it's worth, but like, yeah, basically, you know, factory cars will come off the factory lines, and they are spec'd out with certain tires. So like Michelin, their whole goal is to get their tires put onto as many factory cars as possible, especially because like when you go to a dealer and you're like, hey, I need my tires replaced, a dealer is supposed to like replace them with the same tires that came out the car. Now granted, you know, as car people, we don't often do that. We put on whatever fucking tires we decide. But most people will be like, hey, I don't know anything about tires, but like, here's what came on the car. They'll just replace it with those tires. So for Michelin as a company, it is definitely in their best interest to have as many of those contracts as possible. That's how they make a shitload of money. And so, you know, maybe Japan has better food than everywhere else in the world, or perhaps, you know, maybe it's good for tire sales if Japan has a lot of well-rated restaurants, you know? So, just a little bit of an interesting tidbit there, and honestly, it's called the theory, but I'm like, yeah, I feel like the incentives line up. It is speculation, but it feels like it tracks pretty well to me.
When you tell me like the distribution of like the various levels of stars, it really just kind of feels like they're like, okay, America is a bunch of animals. We'll throw a few stars to New York and LA and maybe somewhere in fucking Texas, but
yeah. But Japan has a lot.
Yeah.
And like for a much smaller country. So it's like, well, there could be something to that. And I for one believe the theory, you know. So yeah, by the way, this is a lot of this info is actually coming from another secondary source. It was a blog written by Trung Phan, and I'll link the blog in the show notes. But yeah, he mentioned the theory, and I for one immediately believe it. Yes, Brandon.
I have to go. I can't breathe.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll be all right. I've pushed it a little bit hard this evening, all things considered.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, even though you are sick.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't
appreciate
feel like I'm sick. I just get tired so fast right now. But obviously had a great time, and you know, see you guys later.
Yep.
Yeah, hope you feel
Thanks,
better.
up, man.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
All right, later.
See ya.
All right, finishing up here. Yeah, so that's the theory about why Japan has so many stars. So the heading here, you know, so what is the Michelin Guide's like kind of secret sauce? What makes them so special? And the answer in this blog is given as signaling. So basically just like the status of it. A 2016 guide from Bocconi University, I don't know where the fuck that is, makes the following point. In a smart setup, researchers tracked how restaurant menus changed in Washington, D.C. before and after the launch of a Michelin Guide for the city. So kind of here was the key takeaway. Rankings act as essential signals indicating competitiveness of organizations, which are typically prevalent in industries characterized by uncertainty in the assessment of quality, right? Things that are subjective. By providing a benchmark for uncertainty in the assessment of quality, which they're claiming we're creating that benchmark for something that is almost unquantifiable, by doing so, Michelin has been able to turn its brand from aggregator, so just like a book of random hotels and restaurants, to curator and tastemaker, right? So like we are telling you of the best of something. So that being the difference there. In a comparison between DC restaurants that made and did not make the guide, The study found that the former group, those that did not make the guide, or that did make the guide, increased pricing to signal its new status and revamp the menu language to include more fancy cooking techniques. For example, like sous vide, and higher quality sounding ingredients. Then the note is, it's not clear if the menus actually changed, but they certainly sounded fancier. And of course, leave it to capitalists to use better words to sell their snake oil. So restaurants are kind of willing to play this game, though, because the exposure is really good for the business. Legendary chef Joel Robuchon, I don't know if I said that right or not, who was awarded a record 32 Michelin stars in his life, explained, with one Michelin star, you get about 20% more business. 2 stars, you get about 40% more business. And with 3 stars, you'll do about 100% more business, right?
Wow,
so,
okay.
Just being a chef that has been awarded these stars, when you open a new restaurant, you're going to have a lot of people going to those restaurants. You're going to have that extra demand. So, from their perspective, the guide's really fucking useful. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, plenty of people must be using the guide to some extent, right? Whether it's word of mouth or people directly using the guide, that kind of status really does make a difference in how many people go there. Yeah. Now, Michelin does face some competition from a couple other competitive things, so I want to mention those as well. If you want to look at the Michelin guide, but also check out their competitors as well to find restaurants. But Michelin faces competition from the likes of the James Beard Award, Zagat, Z-A-G-A-T, and the New York Times Review. Separately, young people are relying on social apps for food recommendations, and then a Google executive recently said that about 40% of young people are finding food spots on TikTok and Instagram instead of Google Maps or search. So a lot of young people are using social media, but I'm not as young, and sometimes I'm just like, well, let's see what the Michelin guide says, right? To find mostly those Bib Gourmand restaurants, or really anything that's listed on the guide website. It may not have a rating, but it's probably pretty fucking good. So yeah. Now, one part of the Michelin brand that seems pretty safe in terms of from competition is going to be the 3-star rating. There's only 143 restaurants in the world that have that, and there's only a few thousand total seats a year at these locations. So it creates a very scarce luxury type good that a lot of rich folks are willing to spend money on. So of course, I'm sure a lot of the clientele is going to be pretty rich, right? Most people cannot afford to spend this much money on a single meal. Rich people sure as shit can. But, part of my point in doing this episode is, yes, this is a luxury good, but as working people, we can, if we pay attention, if we actually try, and you're fortunate enough that your finances work out, it isn't unattainable. It's not a $2,000 meal. It's maybe a couple $100 or something like that. It is something that we as working people actually can experience. And all I'm saying is, don't write it off. It can be a pretty interesting thing to experience. I certainly thought it was. So now, like I said, now that I've done it, I would do it again in a heartbeat. So I haven't, as you've noticed, it's been 3 years since I went to that first one, but now that I've done it, I wouldn't take as much convincing. I feel yeah, I'd like to go to another one actually at some point. It was very cool. So, if you're a listener to our podcast, I know this might seem like it's totally unattainable, but think about it. It is something. There's definitely cheaper versions too. There's a restaurant I want to go to. It's called Mako. It's a Japanese restaurant. And I think it's probably about $150 a person, and they have a Michelin star. So that's achievable. That's doable. So, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this episode, obviously. So talking about kind of how the Michelin Guide makes money to the degree that it does make money, which, sort of questionable. So since launching in 1900, Michelin has sold more than 30 million guides, and that's about an average of 250,000 guides a year. And we can pretty easily assume that, there's been a lot more purchases in recent years than like the early years. So, for example, they sold 100,000 guides in Japan on the first day it launched in the country in 2007, which is a fuckload of guides.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So, the author goes on, let's guesstimate the Michelin sells, 1 million guides a year at about $20 a piece. So $20 million a year in sales. What about their other revenue streams? The guide has digital property, right? The website, runs events and licenses the ranking system to things like TripAdvisor. So it does have other ways of making money as well. Now, Michelin has also started charging countries for coverage. So Eater reports that South Korea's tourism board paid Michelin $1.8 million to launch a Seoul guide, and Thailand's government paid $4.4 million over 5 years, so about $800,000 a year for its own guide. Now, these were not payments for positive reviews necessarily. They're just payments to launch a guide for the country. However, it's not a huge revenue stream if we consider the majority of restaurants, Europe, America, and Japan, are not paying for that kind of thing. Although, today in the United States, if you're a city like Pittsburgh or Seattle, where the guide really isn't present, you might have to pay some money to get them to come out. Now, notably, this is a good time to mention, the guide does not have any recommendations in Israel. They haven't for a long time. So people did speculate why that was. Israelis were wondering, we're the talk of the international food scene. I don't know why I'm not kidding. There are a bunch of articles everyone knows that Israel has got great food. And it turns out the guide has gone, people have gone there to test out restaurants there, and Israel has been told, sorry, y'all are not up to snuff. You are not at the level to deserve a guide. Sorry. Call us back when you get better. Now,
it's kind of funny. I was looking at some of the Bib Gourmand stuff in Denver, and there's some restaurants. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. But one of them was an Israeli restaurant.
Boo.
I saw that. I saw that too.
There are Israeli chefs that have stars, and
okay,
that is the thing. So they exist, but not in Israel. Israel does not have a guide. There is no guide for Tel Aviv. Eventually, the guide was bullied enough and paid enough to go, okay, we'll do a guide for Tel Aviv, I guess. And that was in early 2023. Then they did fucking horrific shit. Obviously, that we're all familiar with. They started the genocide in Palestine. And I have heard nothing about it since. So there's nothing I could find after February 2023. So presumably they made a deal. They were going to either do a 2023 guide or a 2024 guide. And if they had sent inspectors there, they stopped. They were just like, no, we're not doing this shit. So they still are not part of the guide. And if you search online, you will get no results if you are in Israel. So to the extent that they maybe were going to rate some stuff in Israel, given what's going on now, it seems that they are not going to do that anytime soon. So until things change or what have you, at least for right now, the Michelin Guide, not available to Israelis. And that's a good thing in my book. Now, Michelin, the tire company, it doesn't really break out the financials on how the guide works very much. So there's a lot of speculation here. But a 2011 report by Financial Times said the guide loses about $24 million a year. If the guide is still losing that much money, then $24 million represents approximately 0.1% of sales and is pretty much marginal. For them, they make $25 billion a year. If this guide loses $24 million a year, that's just marketing costs. It ain't shit to them. So, for the expenses, we'll kind of get into what those expenses are, but a lot of it is going to be, general admin, publishing, web, app marketing, that kind of stuff to be expected. The most fun expense to talk about is, of course, the food inspectors. So according to Michelin Guide's press kit, inspectors are the quote-unquote main protagonists in the story. They all have backgrounds in hospitality, and they're employees of the Michelin Tire Company. To maintain objectivity, Michelin pays for the inspectors' meals versus the restaurant providing free meals, right? So they're also totally anonymous. Now, the inspector's job has been described as, well, this is a bad description, but the CIA, but with better food, and their work schedule is pretty wild. Now, they're not overthrowing democratically elected governments, so they're not like the CIA in that way. Now, a Michelin Guide inspector eats around 250 anonymous meals a year, known externally as table tests, and they spend 160 nights in hotels. They make 600 visits and writes more than 1,000 reports to create a new selection every year. So, like...
Must be nice.
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, they are anonymous, and they only reveal themselves to a restaurant if they have additional questions, and only after the meal. Twice a year, inspectors get together to swap notes with the guide's editor. They award stars in a unanimous collegiate manner. So basically the opposite of discourse on Twitter. That's the note here. But yeah, they all have to be unanimous, and multiple people will test the same restaurant. They will test the same restaurant several times a year, and they'll test it at different times. So they'll test, like, they will have someone show up at lunch. They'll have a different person show up at a dinner on a different day. They will test them on Fridays and Saturdays. They will test them on a fucking Tuesday. You never know when you're going to get tested. And the tester, they will send multiple people there, and they have to all agree that it was perfect. They will try multiple things on the menu. They will try, they really are actually trying all kinds of shit. And the other thing they do, which I thought is interesting, and it's not actually in my notes, but to be, like, for the guides, what they do is they will send them all over the world. Like, everywhere. So, like, if you're just, like, they're not going to have one person who's like, you're going to try all the New York restaurants, or you're going to try all the Tokyo restaurants. They don't do that, partially because, like, it can kind of start to skew a person a little bit if they're eating the same shit all the time and eating in the same area all the time. So they really actually try and spread them as far out as they can. They don't want somebody to be like, hey, you're stationed in Japan, you're going to taste all the Japan shit. They're going to be like, nope, you are in Japan on this day, you're in New York on this day, then you're in Germany, then you're back to Japan, then you're in Thailand, then, they're gonna float them around all over the place so that they're not getting, they're not getting biased. They're not gonna get, like, stuck on the same kind of shit. So they actually do try and spread them out quite a bit, which I thought was interesting. It's very expensive, but hey, for the Michelin Tire brand, it works out for them. So what do they care? So here's my really quick and dirty assumption on the kind of expense of the Michelin inspectors. So, like, kind of just doing the rough math here. Total number of visits. There's 15,000 total restaurants that the guide covers, or 30, I think is what they said now. But whatever. So this is assuming 15,000 that they check. Not everything gets a star. Michelin visits each starred restaurant multiple times a year with different inspectors. So 3 stars, you're going to get about 10 visits. 2 stars, you're going to get about 5 visits. And then a 1 star might get 3 visits. No star will probably get 1 visit. And so they did the math, and they came up with that is 24,167 total visits. The cost of visits, assuming the following all-in cost for 3 star is $450, 2 stars $300, 1 star being $100, and then no star being $100 as well. The total meal cost they came up with was $3.3 million. And then the number of inspectors. Assuming each inspector visits 200 restaurants a year, you'd need 121 inspectors, and each one is paid about $120,000 a year. And that's between their salary plus their hotels. Now that's a total annual salary cost of $14.5 million. So the total, assuming the awful assumptions here are in the ballpark, that's a rough estimate of about $17.8 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but, like, when you consider that the average 30-second Super Bowl ad costs $6.5 million, $17.8 million every year for Michelin actually looks like a pretty good deal. So they do all this stuff, and remember, this is advertising all over the world, and this is and this increases their sales all over the fucking world. So it's a good marketing tool for them, and that's why it's stayed around for over 100 years at this point. Or actually, the star was born in 1926, so almost 100 years. So obviously, that's kind of how the scheme works there. That's just how it works. And there's some criticisms of it. Obviously, I wish the guide had more vegan options that were pretty upfront. And then there's also as Hugo was kind of saying, it is hard on some of the workers, right? The chefs are not paid super well. It's they're kind of getting exposure in a way. They're getting experience, but they're not paid super well. They should be paid more. And then there's a lot of chefs that in fact, there's stories of chefs that have sued the Michelin people to take back the stars. They're please God, take this back, because it creates a lot of pressure. Getting a star is one thing. Keeping a star is another, because if you remember, consistency is a big deal with the guide. You're going to get visited over and over and over again. You have to be perfect every single fucking time. And so that's where a lot of the kind of the almost verbal abuse kind of comes in, the high pressure situations when it's ultimately it's a fucking fancy restaurant. No working person's going to leave that and be that was bad. To me, there's no way they could have fucked up anything, because I'm not used to that kind of shit. But rich people, they're a little bit different, right? So they might, be a little bit more critical or whatever. So there have been, chefs that have not been super appreciative of getting the stars, because it just puts a lot of pressure on them, right? It creates a lot of media buzz, and not every chef wants that. So some chefs have just kind of tried to lose their stars or whatever. It is an unfortunate byproduct of it, but for the most part, as a working person who just I like good food sometimes, the guide is pretty good for finding shit in my area that is good. And yeah, I've spent a lot of money on the one Michelin star place I went to, but it was cool. I would do it again. It was fun. I liked it. And, I think if you are a working class person, I don't think you should think that that is off limits to you, or that it's unreasonable to spend money on a good meal. To me, it's one of those things that's what does it mean to be a human on this planet if not to give a shit about the food we can experience? That's food is such a big part of human culture, and just it's what sustains us. So experiencing what is the best, what is a chef who is a fucking artist, what can you experience with that? It seems like money well spent to me. So
I like the idea of treating it like an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Put it into car terms, because this is a car podcast, it's like doing one of those drive a supercar for a day experiences, in my opinion. I'm never gonna buy one of those cars. I have no interest in owning it, but I still want to drive a Porsche GT3 RS. I think it would be a cool experience, because I want to see what the best engineering can achieve. From a manufacturer. What is the best of the best? I want to experience that.
And so, again, like I said, a big part of the reason I wanted to do this was, one, it gave us something to do an episode about, but also I had this experience and I was holy shit, I actually didn't think it would be worth it. I never thought I would do it, and then once I did, I was oh fuck, I would do that again, actually. So I'd like to encourage listeners, hey, if the guide has suggestions in your area, check out a Bib Gourmand restaurant. There's tons of them out there. Like I said, I've gone to at least the one. There's another one I want to go to. It's called The Girl and the Goat. Everybody wants to go and eat there, and it's supposed to be at least relatively affordable. I've also been to a restaurant that I couldn't find it in the guide, and it's not Michelin starred, but it is similarly fine dining. It was a Jose Andreas restaurant, which is the guy who does the World Central Kitchen. So the guy whose aid workers who have been, targeted by Israel on multiple occasions for their charity work in Gaza. But anyway, I actually went to a Jose Andreas restaurant, and it's called, I think, the Bazaar or something. We went there for our anniversary before we went to a Chicago Symphony Orchestra show. So we actually went there, and again, it was pricey, but it was fucking amazing. I tried shit that, like, that was where we tried Wagyu beef that was, like, the perfect shit. They, like, came out and they cooked it on a fucking rock next to the table. It was crazy. It was cool shit, and it was very expensive, but, like, it was cool. I don't do that every year or every month or whatever, but, like, it was a very cool experience. So I'd like to...
And I will say, on the flip side of that, like, I've been to a few fancier restaurants for, like, birthdays or whatever, and had a pretty middling experience,
Yeah.
And I didn't consult a guide or like Zagat or, a John Beard Award or anything like that. I was just like, this place looks nice.
Yeah.
Their menu prices reflect like a, fine dining type of place. And then I went and ate there and I was like, I mean,
actually, now
it's
that
fine, but like,
funny enough,
worth what they charged.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I've been to a number of like fancy steakhouses and stuff that the experience is just not the same. It is not at the level of the restaurants that I've been to that were on the Michelin guide, but like that was a different, like the Michelin star restaurant I went to was a very unique experience. So like it was actually worth something to me. And so, hey, I hope it's worth something to a listener who maybe thought like they would never do that or it's not for them. It is for you. It's fucking food. You eat food. If you are able, right? Not everyone is, for most of my 20s, I was not in a financial state to like even consider this. And frankly, my finances were not at the best point when I did go. But I am very glad ultimately that I went and I experienced something that I didn't understand until I experienced it. And so I hope I can encourage someone else to like, I don't know, give it a try. Check it out. And also buy Michelin tires or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have some, do have some good ones, but like, they're a bit pricey for me.
We're not sponsored, by the way, just in case anyone was confused. While, like, I don't think we have time to get into this super deep, but like, while you're talking about this, I was just thinking like, what would like fine dining look like in sort of like a post-revolutionary, like even like post-scarcity type environment, like, where, or like any kind of like a socialist environment. Like I know I'm sure there's fine dining in China. It's not, 100% socialist or whatever.
Hey,
but like,
there's over 200 Michelin star restaurants in China.
Yeah.
Excuse you.
Yeah, excuse me. Maybe I missed that part when you were saying that. But like I think that there's a way to have luxury in a socialist environment. Like
Absolutely.
We don't have to be all wearing gray coveralls and eating bland gruel or whatever. Like we can have nice things.
Yeah. And especially when you consider that, like I said, the main thing that makes this food exceptional and that makes the experience exceptional is the labor. It's not the input, the ingredient. Like you can get a fucking onion anywhere. You can get a hunk of steak anywhere. It's just that like they do a little extra with the steak. They wait, they age it or whatever. Aging is just like you put it in whatever circumstances and you let it age. In a lot of capitalist enterprises, like that adds to the cost too much. I can't wait to use these ingredients. I have to get them out as quickly as possible. But like in a world where the drive is not the highest profit possible, like if you just don't have to cut corners, that could become a more normal thing. And like if we paid workers well and like sent more people to culinary school, like we could all just have better quality stuff, and it could be an experience for working people in a socialist system. So I think I think part of like why I wanted to do this was just like, this actually doesn't have to be a scarce product. It's literally just labor, and it could be a pretty abundant resource, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe we can follow up on this later, but like, if anyone's still listening this late in the episode, maybe like, email us and say like, what can you imagine the world looking like in a post-capitalist environment where, like, how would restaurants work? I mean, this was a debate on Twitter like a year or two ago. Like, would restaurants exist after capitalism or whatever? Yeah. But, like, I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that in a more sane way than people on Twitter were.
I think yes. I think the answer is obviously yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of, like, anarchists will kind of pose this thing, but, like, when they go, what happens after the revolution? It's like, well, what happens now? It's probably very similar, right? Like, do restaurants exist? It's like, okay, why wouldn't restaurants exist after revolution? Like, for what reason would they not? And so, like, I kind of take that approach, right? Like, if we didn't have the same kinds of constraints, actually, this kind of thing could become more abundant, especially if you gave people, like, the ability to, like, be creative with these things. They're not part of, like, necessarily, like, a corporate conglomerate. Like, they can experiment a little bit, and I actually think we would see more fine dining experiences under a more socialist arrangement than we would, that we see today.
Yeah, and I just checked. There is at least one Michelin star restaurant in Cuba.
I actually didn't know that. That's awesome.
That is very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, on that note, I think it's probably time to wrap up here. So, if you like what we do, follow us on social media, and go ahead and rate and review our podcast so that other people can find it. But I hope you all had as much fun on this topic as I had. And I hope...
Yeah, it was...
Yeah.
I mean, I had fun. It was interesting.
Definitely a different topic than our usual thing, but like,
right.
there's a connection there. It's both tires, It's in our wheelhouse.
If we can do a show about Sears, then we can do one about Michelin.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening this long. If you have, I know it was a long one, but it was a good time, and I'm super grateful that Hugo was able to come on. He's a fucking riot. So,
yeah.
And for anyone wondering, like. Hugo's actually just in a content creator, group chat that we're in, and I kind of reached out, and I had no idea that Hugo had this kind of direct experience working in the industry. So, it just happened to work out that he was like, "Oh yeah, I actually worked in restaurants like that," and I was like, "Get the fuck out!" Okay, hold on. So it worked out that we were able to have him on, and that was, I think that we really did make it a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, go buy his t-shirts. Go like.
Yeah,
his
he's got
memes.
some good ones on there, actually, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I might get one of the Parenti ones, actually.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for listening, and, bye.
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 Capitalism works, if it works at all, because it always has socialism to bail it out and to subsidize it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
In the 1980s, 50 corporations controlled most news media in America. By 1992, that number shrunk to 24. And today, only 6 corporations control 90% of everything Americans see, hear, and read. The money spent on the Iraq War alone, which killed 1 million people, 5% of Iraq's entire population, and planted the seeds for ISIS to flourish, could have covered all global investments to halt climate change trends.